Hello, everybody. This is your Tour Doors Extended Warranty. I am joined by two guests today, um, and we are going to be starting a
Hello?
new podcast. Would you like
Greetings.
to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm.
Yeah, totally.
Oi.
Sorry.
Hi.
Ladies first.
Okay then. I'm Turtleduck Incorporated. My major claim to fame is being a woman on the internet, and people don't like that. That's all I got. You'll figure it out as you go.
I am thinking of an introduction right this second. I didn't before. We're starting a podcast because no one ever did it. I am Italian, which is, of course, cause for violence by everyone else. And that's it for now.
Yes, this is L. For the sake of a
Oh, yeah,
name's sake, we have L here.
yeah, I'm not halfway that smart, but I'll try.
Our token Italians, we can make mafia jokes.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
So, as I said in the beginning, we are starting a podcast. Every single one of us isn't going to be here every time, but we are going to have at least two people per episode. Occasionally, what we plan to do in the future is if we can get a hold of some guests to bring them on and have discussions about, like, not strictly just politics, but politics, social stuff, maybe even games, culture war stuff, but just anything that seems entertaining at the time. Like, angry rants about the Pope. Anyways.
Hell yeah.
Don't get her started.
um, but regardless, this is the start of our episode one. This one will actually not be streamed. Once we get going properly and get all of the tech stuff situated, we will start streaming at the same time as recording. So there will be videos up as well as VODs on Kick because Twitch can screw itself. Anyways, yes, I don't like YouTube either, but YouTube will be the predominant like posting place to this at least for the time being. I'm probably going to create a channel specifically for the podcast rather than just a playlist, but we'll see how it goes. Anyways, so starting off,
Unfortunately for everyone involved, YouTube is still the only platform that you kind of need, or this doesn't work.
yeah, that's
Realistically.
sad reality because Rumble's getting there. They really are, but more people need to switch over to Rumble for it to actually get any headway because they don't have Google money. That's why Google, is because they've been around for so much longer. They've had time to perfect things. It's a bit
Yeah, and they have
frustrating.
like their deal with like Apple and was it Apple or Samsung definitely with like Android phones, like getting their search engine to be default on every device.
Oh yeah, well Chrome is default loaded onto every single or almost every phone. And they were trying to like remove that
Yeah, I
as a
heard.
feature because they were calling it monopolistic. So they were basically saying Samsung had to
That's
just
only
put their
because it
own
is.
browser store on there, and then you'd have to download Chrome and everything else. Ow, through there. Oh god, that hurts.
What did you do?
My hiccups and sneezes don't function correctly. So if I hiccup or sneeze, it feels
Damn.
like things are going to explode or be ripped out. It's not fun.
Oh no, gore on Maine. Okay.
Yeah. But
Well,
anyways, since
It's not
we're
the
starting,
worst thing you post on main in all fairness.
starting off on episode one, again, not streamed, and we will probably go back into this user that we're going to go over today and future, all three of us casts because I feel like it's warranted, and because said
very
user
respectfully, of
deserves a
course.
verbal thrashing. Verbal. I must stress verbal. So
I
the
disagree. It's disrespectfully for me.
They, I mean, someone will have to be like the person, I don't know, the one who doesn't immediately like kill this guy. I want to be like the way in between. I love to be the way in between. I'll try to be like the more, maybe this is what he meant. So we give him a bit of a
Oh,
benefit of the doubt, even though he
playing
doesn't
devil's
deserve it.
advocate is hard in this case because
Yeah, I know. But usually that's what I am, so I'll take that role.
fair enough. All right,
Respect.
respectfully. Um, so this user is a user by the name of Mitch Fide. Find F. Yeah, just I'm not gonna like
Indeed.
we're not gonna see his posts in this. I will get all of that shit set up at a different point in time. Um, where we can actually see what we're responding to. So whenever we do a video on some other of his stuff at some point in time, we'll get that up there so people can actually see what's going on. The format of the video will probably also change because I'm not thrilled about this setup, but it's what we have. So, anyways, so this is going to be posts from Tumblr because we all have a community that we've kind of curated on there. And we are going to read off the users as they are and what they said for the sake of time, for because all of us can't stay for super long, and coordinating time for us is actually kind of difficult. Um, Time zones. I'm going to read
Time
these,
zone.
and I'm going to anything that's like kind of lengthy, I'm going to speed read through. Anything that I specifically responded to, I may skip or I may just go over the broad points of what I said just to kind of condense time. So, the first one is a post by the name The Constitution is Gay Culture. Pretty chill guy, clearly a gay man.
Gotta love him.
And
Gay icon.
gay icon.
He's an
He's got a
icon.
gay Gadsden flag as his
He's
icon.
our token gay guy.
Um, yeah, because the rest of them are all lesbians. Anyways,
Exactly.
he goes, by the way, the whole USAID thing is a real world example of why Bruce Wayne just giving all his money to the city wouldn't solve anything. Mitch responds, the gutting of USAID by Doge is projected to kill 14 million people within a decade. By the way, that is 14 million preventable deaths. So much for that money not solving anything. So I would normally respond to this first, but I'm going to give AC a crack at it, and then we'll go from there.
You gonna put me on a spot like this?
Yes,
I mean,
I'm
first
putting
of all,
Yeah, just
I'm
like
putting the snapping turtle in harm's way, and by snapping turtle in harm's way, I mean in front of anything it can chew through.
I was gonna
and
say,
it's not big
in harm's way, are you putting everyone else in harm's way? My first thought is completely unrelated, which is it USAID? Because I thought it was USAID.
No, it is USAID. Like it is an entire acronym that should be U.S.A.I.D. But because they're called USAID, people refer to them as USAID. So that way that it sounds like a aid program that we're giving to other countries when the reality is that's not what's going on.
I mean, I suppose it is an aid program. It's just bad, but
I mean,
that's neither here nor there.
bad aid, yeah, maybe.
I mean, really, I don't think there's much to be said about the like what he's doing here in particular. It's really just, well, people are of the opinion that people have said that all of these bad things are going to happen if we don't pour all of this money down the drain. Therefore, you not pouring money down the drain is actively killing people. Like those are not the same things. Like saying, well, this could save 14 million people from preventable deaths, like, is a very, very different, like, it's a very loaded way of saying, like, this has the potential to do good, like, if, like, it does what it's supposed to. That's, like, very different from just outright saying you're killing 14 million people by cutting it.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
that's an accurate statement. So my take whenever I first read this was pretty like I actually got kind of honorary about it. So USAID is a program that was used by the CIA to cause civil unrest in multiple different countries. That is a fact that we know at this
Yes,
point.
they
It
do.
is not something that is like speculation. This is an actual reality. We know that they've been pushing Marxism, neo-progressivism, and whatnot using these programs in other countries, including trying to fund transitions in sub-Saharan Africa, where there's so many trans people and not people starving to death because that's somehow a thing. Um, but my sentiment here is more the fact that I don't think that we need to be spreading gender ideology in every single third world country where they're struggling to even feed themselves. But the whole preventable deaths like point of view is such a stupid concept anyway because you're effectively advocating for stopping preventable deaths. Okay, so let's glass every capital building in every country that's run by a dictator who's not Western. We're going to completely glass China's Capitol building. We're going to completely glass Russia's Capitol building. And the Houthi pirates, yeah, we've got to kill all of them. So we have to basically be G.I. Joe slash SWAT in every single country to take out every dictator because they are starving, killing, and raping their own people. Those are preventable deaths that we could prevent by literally being the world Gestapo. Sounds great, right?
Hell yeah, the leftists clearly love war. I mean, we've seen their reaction to when Maduro got kidnapped. They were really happy about that, about ending that dictatorship.
Yeah, they were.
Uh,
It was funny because in New York they were crying about freeing Maduro. They were in the streets, literally bawling, crying, and shitting themselves. Like, oh my God, he was an elected leader. What are you doing?
This was such a funny time in history. Just like, how dare
yeah,
you? The poor Venezuelans like pan over to Venezuela and they're
They're
like,
throwing a
yes!
fucking party where it's like Rio de Janeiro with fucking like drinks and fucking food, and they're dancing in the streets. It's fucking wild, man. But kind of to put a bow on this, and I'll let Elle respond after this. Because
hmm
devil's advocate or not, this is just a dumb fucking take, broadly speaking. But my whole point with this whole thing is if you want to prevent preventable deaths, you can stop people from driving, make cars and buses and planes illegal. Everyone has to walk everywhere. Oh, they can't do that. There are wild animals outside. Those are preventable deaths. Illegal aliens being in the United States causes deaths, rapes, grooming, etc. Well, those are preventable. Why don't we deport them? Why don't we put everyone in a 6x6 box and just never let them leave and only feed them foods that are liquid only? Preventable deaths. Preventable deaths is such a stupid threshold to complain about when the reality is most of the money that was going into USAID was funding NGOs. Some of those NGOs were strictly existent for the sake of paying off protesters to protest for Democrat causes. What's more, USAID's money was kicked into some of these NGOs and some of these programs, and some of that money, a decent chunk of it actually, was kicked back into Act Blue because Act Blue has been pushing for the existence of this program and continued not or making sure the public doesn't know about what it does for a long time. And I find it to be very
mm-mm.
extremely insidious because what are you talking about when you say preventable deaths? People are going to die. We can't babysit the world. We can't just dump all of our funds into these places. Like we've sent oodles and oodles of cash to like Somaliland, I believe. And we've had people rob the United States blind, robbing our aid programs in the United States, sending actual like briefcases full of money or flying them over to Somaliland. And their country is still a literal hellhole. All right, you can go, El. I'm
Yeah, that's a
done
good point.
tangenting.
And it wasn't a tangent, it was your point. I'll try. I have a few points. I mean, obviously, I'm coming at this from a point of view of a non-American. I generally tend to be against major foreign intervention. I think each country should generally concern themselves with their own problems. So this whole thing already is something that I don't particularly, not even like, just support strongly. But that is beside the point. I think we have to look at the article that he posted and the peer review article that is being talked about. Of course, it's peer reviewed, so it's not like a random person just yelling random facts. On the other hand, we have to recognize what the actual article is saying. First of all, we have to understand the difference between projections and facts. This is a projection, so it's not actually it's not a guaranteed. These numbers are completely, we could say, imaginary because it's a projection. First of all, future outcomes may vary depending on exactly how the cut will happen. Another thing is it's we're kind of seeing a domino effect kind of theory here. The impact that the US has like on a global funding is great, but there's also this to imagine that the US is not the only country that is helping these humanitarian groups. So one country just cutting one of the many helps that go around the world is not going to be that much. That is not going to make that much of a difference. Then there are some assumption that this model is doing, that the research is doing. I was just reading it and like scientifically it is kind of fair, but every model is still depending on assumptions and like variables like unexpected economic shifts or wars, which, we cannot predict. Another last point is the correlation and causation, of course. Um, there's probably they have analyzed some um, statistics in the past and assumed that cuts and different ways that the US aid acted actually caused those outcomes and changes, but it's just assumptions, and the correlation is, we have to remember, is not actually linked to the outcome. The causation is not necessarily linked to these changes. I am speaking in a different language than my native, so hopefully it was clear. I think the general point is these are statistics. It's not a guarantee, hey, this thing is definitely going to kill these people. It's just a prediction that people who have interest in this continuing made. So there's that to consider.
Yeah,
That's it.
and that's like a big thing too. Is projected deaths are basically a, oh well, we assume this. And you could be like, oh, well, assumptions of deaths can be based on like scientific metrics, but if you actually look through the article, a lot of what they're doing is grasping at straws. And that's not to say that the UCLA is not necessarily always honest. They actually have a tendency to just kind of like fellatiate, we're going to use that word, fellatiate the Democrat Party and liberalism as a whole in the like neo-progressive like ideals, and it's kind of frustrating because there's so much that these companies will do to protect causes that may very well benefit them or benefit their the narrative, as it were. Uh, Mrs. Snipping Tietel, do you have any additions?
I had an addition, but I forgot.
Look,
I'm sure it'll come back to me.
we are very professional.
Very, very professional. I'm actually doing a check right now. to see if USAID was ever, or the UCLA was ever given. Okay, yes, the UCLA, as part of the University of California system, has received funding from USAID. So they directly benefit from the existence of USAID.
Naturally.
And we're talking about California here. I don't trust a lot of what comes out of California.
I remember what I was gonna say. It's just very, the whole concept is very along the lines of what's like caused Europe to throw ourselves down the drain over the last several years, which is that we're responsible for everyone in the whole world, like, and it's not even like we're like all humans should look out for each other equally. It's you are more responsible to improving the lives of the third world than you are responsible for the well-being of your fellow countrymen and the quality, like the quality of life in your own country. It's just that exact sentiment all over again.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, you're cutting this program because it's actively detrimental to you, the people around you, and your entire country. But have you considered that it's helping all of these people that live at the other end of the globe? And that is way more important than anything you want and you need. And it's just that exact same sentiment. And at some point, it's just no. Okay, yeah, well, it's gonna. I'm sure USAID has done like a good thing for someone at some point. I'm sure cutting it will like lead to like worse outcomes for some people in the future than they would have had if they had gotten help from this program. But at the same time, like that's kind of their problem, and at some point those people need to take care of themselves, and you can't just forever rely on like countries that have absolutely no responsibility towards you to keep you afloat with handouts.
Yeah, I'm of the same mind. Basically, being global babysitters is not the best idea in the world because you teach him, what is it? The phrase, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man the fish, you feed him for the rest of his life. It sounded like you wanted to say something else.
Yeah, also I think that I thought when you talked realistically, these cuts aren't going like nowhere. Maybe they are realistically saving less people outside of the US, but like realistically, that same amount of money could go into US economy and save the same, if not a higher number of people in their own country, because of course they could handle it better when they have it, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, maybe 28 million people in the US would be saved or helped out of a bad situation that they found themselves in. It's not wasted money and it's not life lost because at the end, that money could go and improve people's lives in another country, their own country, which is completely fair, I think.
Yeah, but the funny thing too is the one thing that the UCLA thing doesn't cover, because of course it doesn't, because again, they directly benefit from USAID existing, which to be fair, USAID is an acronym. And it is a lot of people, which you will see people like mistype and be like, or say it and be like, oh, it's USAID because that's how it looks. And D stand for.
I'm glad I've caused us to touch on that.
Yeah, no, I also thought because I always see it that way, and not being American, I always thought it was aid, like aiding
Yeah, it's like the
from
word
the US.
wealth. Like, at
Anyway,
some point, like, the only time you've ever seen it is written out in Harry Potter, and you have no idea how to say that. And then
The
someone's like, oh, it's pronounced draft. It's like, no, it's not.
so USAID stands for United States Agency for International Development, i.e., nation building. That one thing that
yeah.
the neo-progressives absolutely hate that the Americans try to do at any given point in time, but yet they're pro this program. And again, the CIA has notably used this program to cause civil strife in different countries. Like, that is a fact. So, I think we've covered the majority of what we needed on this topic specifically. We will move over to the next post, which is actually a post by me. I will read the
Oh, good.
subtext.
I was about to link this subject to another topic that is significantly touchier than this.
Jesus, yeah,
I
this
don't
is
know.
I swear we'll
horrifying.
cover it next time. So this is a post by Kevin Sorbo on Twitter, which I'll read before I read my response to it. It says, so the original post was made by Colin Rugg. New 20-year-old Florida woman who gave birth at home before she allegedly let the child die in her toilet has been released from jail. And Annie Mae DiMaggio was seen running out of jail after being charged with manslaughter. DiMaggio is accused of putting a newborn in a toilet. It's a longer
I'm
post.
guessing the Megillo.
Did you call her anime?
It's a Latin sounding name, so I can pronounce it.
She looks Spanish, so I mean, I guess the languages are similar. Kevin Sorbo says she gave birth, put the baby in a toilet while she cleaned up, watched her own child drown, shoved the baby into a suitcase, then buried him. The judge still lets her out on bond. The final stages of the abortion movement are to let women kill their children without consequence. My response to this when I posted this was, in case you were wondering, this is infanticide. It was always the next logical step in the abortion until birth sentiment, and now judges are not doing their job because of whatever reason. My finished response is, it's super easy to put the kid up for adoption. There was no need for this kind of horrific act. You literally already gave birth, which should have been done at the hospital, but whatever. And before somebody says, well, this is what happens when you ban... No. This is not the next logical step in the abortion. No, this is the next logical step in the abortion with no limit. And not pushing this woman to fulfill, or to the fullest extent of punishing this woman to the fullest extent of the law is a grave mistake, because this is no different than mothers that drown babies in the bath while they are still really young. The first response to me was a person by we're going to not fully give this person out, at least for the time being, because I'm going to give some of these people a little bit of grace. Mitch gets none. By Law. We're going to call this person Law.
It would start it with respect, so gotta respect him.
Yeah.
Okay, but to be fair, do you know how often I've said respectfully and then said the worst thing I've ever said to a human being?
With all due respect, says slur after slur.
I was going to make a quote here, but I was like, we are going to have to cut that out of the recording.
Yeah, but Law says, the law user says, with respect, how is banning restricting abortion not related to stupid decisions like the above? Malaysia has restrictive abortion access, and we also have a slew of cases of unwilling mothers abandoning their unwanted childs in toilets. Granted, they don't deliberately kill the child in the like in the above Floridian case, but genuinely do not understand how restricting access to abortions is not related to these acts. And I'll speed read through my response, just or trying to cover the more broad points, but I'll skip anything I don't need.
Good, I'm already vibrating with rage.
Yeah.
The
problem is the result the problem is the result is going to be the same regardless. When I say restricting access to abortion doesn't inherently lead to this, and that allowing unfettered abortion causes this, you need to understand where I'm coming from specifically. The United States has effectively had an abortion on demand up until the point of birth in a lot of hospitals ever since the inception of Roe v. Wade. And the person who argued for this case originally admitted on their deathbed, if I remember correctly, that it was a flimsy argument and that they presented and that they regret arguing in favor of it. Now, the reason that this is important is because we basically told people that lives do not start until a child has exited the womb, except that's fundamentally untrue. From the 50s all the way up until the late 2000s, it was very much expressed and understood that life starts at conception. People have since tried to change what it means to be alive. The reason, of course, for this being that they want the ability to get rid of unwanted pregnancies. Rather than be responsible adults and deal with the consequences of their act, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love sex, but I am also well aware of what the consequences are, and I am more than prepared to take responsibility if it ends up happening, because I am not a scumbag. There are three opportunities to not get pregnant. The first is birth control, the second is Plan B, and the third is to not participate in sex. Now, if you were to ask me what my view on abortion is, I would tell you that I am on the fence about it. Reason, of course, being that I think that exceptions for things like rape and incest should exist. I know that there will be people that do not agree with me on that because there are several people alive today who were the result of rape, and they do not want their life to mean any less. And I can understand where they are coming from, but the libertarian in me speaks a little loudly on those capacities because I have to look at things from a slightly more freedom standpoint. Having said that, I am not so libertarian as to not understand that people need to face consequences of their actions whenever they willfully participate in these actions. But I don't want to like read the next three paragraphs, but effectively what I'll say is this, kind of like covering the last of the bases. The United States has a program where you can leave your child in a basket on the doorstep of a fire department or a police department, and they will adopt the kid for a duration of time until they can get it put into adoption or into an adoption care system, which yes means that they will be foster kids. But at the same time, there are a lot of parents who are honestly wanting to adopt kids who would be good parents, but the adoption system is fucked. That's not an excuse to kill children post birth. What's more, I don't think that it is the law's responsibility to basically step in and say, oh yes, did you make a mistake? We'll clean it up for you because you couldn't be responsible enough to close your fucking legs. And again, I say this as a person who absolutely loves physical intimacy. If I were to end up where I was going to, which obviously I don't have a womb, clearly, you can tell because of my voice, but my point basically being, I would step up and be a dad. I don't care. Like, if that's a choice that I made, I would live with the consequences, and so be it. So be it. But you could put a kid up for adoption. You could literally put the kid on the doorstep of a fire department. You can, like, tell the hospital you don't want the kid. You can opt to not have sex. And it is not your right to be able to end a pregnancy. And let me explain what abortion is, because this is a necessary point of this conversation. Abortion is explicitly the termination of a viable pregnancy, which means stillbirths are not abortion. Removal of a stillbirth, removal of a my brain just blanked out. Any non-viable pregnancy.
Not viable.
Yeah, non-viable pregnancy is not abortion. If it is a viable pregnancy, which means the kid can survive, then it is an abortion. And a lot of people like to make this thing out like it is basically saying, oh, well, if you have to remove a stillbirth or something else similar to that, or the life of the mother, and it's like, yes, if the kid can't survive out of the womb and they have to remove the kid regardless, again, that is legally and medically not an abortion. At all. Just that's a fact. And the reality is, my point being that this is the end result of abortion up until the point of birth. We have created a system in which basically says, hey, it is your God-given right to terminate children in the womb at any point in time for any reason whatsoever. Are you feeling bad one day? Abortion. Are you feeling depressed one day? Abortion. Did the guy who you thought was going to be with you forever just decide to sleep with your best friend? Abortion. With no absolute care in the world about what happens to the child. Because, again, medically and factually, life starts at conception. And according to the 14th Amendment of the United States specifically, there is a right to life in the United States. And the only people who've been attempting to change the definition of what abortion is and what a pre or an in development human is, change that definition so that they could pretend it's not a living human being. Alright, whoever's got more rage under their bones, go next. Hold on. Wait. Sorry. I have to read Mitch's response first. Because
right, we're here for Mitch.
we're
yeah,
here for
we're
Mitch,
missing
not
Mitch.
for the topic at hand. So many mental gymnastics when the obvious reason is because she lived in Florida where abortion is essentially illegal. It's not. Don't get me wrong here. She may have just been a sicko,
It's not,
but my
yeah.
guess is that she didn't feel she had the resources to get somewhere where abortion is legal. Again, false. When you make abortion illegal, stuff like this tends to happen. It is a tale as old as time at this point, and you just ignore it. I don't. My big question is why you're in such an uproar over abortion when even you seem to be suggesting that abortion would have been preferable to what she did. I didn't say that, actually. You're giving away the game. There's so many implications from your response that I don't even think you know you're making. Like, if abortion is a solution, maybe the government should fucking make it legal. Maybe you should be pushing back against the government that's making it illegal. But you can't do that because Trump. I didn't even mention Trump in my entire statement, nor does he have any relevance in this, but I'm gonna let you guys
Pull up
respond.
the bingo card. Trump mentioned completely unprompted.
Yeah, TDS.
I feel like most of your response was kind of like a little bit unnecessary to the very original point, because like it's such a bad argument at its very face. It's literally the, well, if we just legalized murder, there wouldn't be any murderers. It's like, look how the crime rate plummeted. What did you do? We legalized crime.
Chirac would love that, I'm sure.
It's literally, well, she only murdered her infant child after she gave birth because you didn't allow her to kill the fetus before it was born. It's like, so if you just let her kill it a little bit earlier, we wouldn't have had to deal with this. Like, I mean, yeah, technically you are
Yeah, there's not
correct.
much to add, realistically.
If you just let her kill it previously, then she wouldn't have had to kill it later on. Like, I don't know what you think.
If you
that,
let
like,
her kill it before, she wouldn't have had to kill it now.
yeah, that's literally the argument. So, like, the point is that we don't want her to kill it at any point. But the point more so is, since you already gave birth, there is literally no stakes here anymore. Like, you can just give it away. Just do anything else. Just give it
You
to
did
your
the hard part. That's the issue. That's what we're here.
you're fucking American.
Don't know.
Do you not have this? Isn't there a thing over there where like they literally have like boxes that you could just drop like a child into, like a letterbox if you don't
Yeah.
want? Isn't that a thing?
I mean, it's what I said earlier.
Yes,
You can
absolutely.
put them in for like in a basket or a box or some kind of like something in front of the fire department or police department, and I think it's like in front of a church too, actually.
Oh yeah,
And
take
they
it to
are,
church. Like
and they would.
notoriously,
Yeah, do the
I know
Moses
it's like a
treatment.
storytelling cliche, but like yeah, just give it to a church. What
Yeah,
the
fucking
hell?
Quasimodo, like literally in front of the fucking church.
Harry Potter. Drop Harry Potter in front of the uncle and aunt's place.
Yeah, effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, this issue is very simple to me actually, because it always depends on the person definition of life, and it's not as straightforward as, oh, this is where life begins. And because some people can say, oh, it begins at birth, or oh, it begins at conception. I don't think there's an actual answer aside from birth. It doesn't begin at birth,
There
obviously,
is no
because
clear
there are
like you
children.
are wrong. You in particular, you're a fucking idiot. What are you doing?
Yeah, no, I mean, there are kids by now that can be born like at 5 months after conception because now we have the technology to save them, even though, of course, years ago they would have died. That means that, hey, they're alive. It's a thing, it already exists. It has a life by then, okay? Now, personally, I don't believe life begins at conception, but that's another argument, so of course I'm not gonna argue about that. The issue with the argument for abortion is that it there's a wall. You meet a wall there because if the other person firmly believes that life begins at birth, well, what can you say? There's nothing that you can say to make them change their mind about this issue because to them it's a non-issue. The thing about, well, we could have it killed before, well, it's not killing because to them it's not a living thing. So that is the issue with this, that you cannot argue sadly about it unless it's someone that actually has an open mind, I think. I genuinely wouldn't know what to say about that. Aside that, yeah, Florida is in Florida, it isn't completely illegal. Abortion isn't completely illegal, so there was an option to avoid the situation entirely. And of course, the obvious thing: this woman is a psycho, as mentioned by him. By him, so we all know that. That is not because abortion is legal. I mean, there's not much else to add, I think.
So my sentiment, and I'll just kind of like I'll end with this because which is a little unfair, but it's just kind of like my broader point. Science has effectively said that the reason that life starts at conception is that it once an egg is fertilized, it constitutes new life, and that new life is the effectively the very beginning spark that is human life. And even though it's not sentient, like it's one of those questions of like logical extremes. So there are people like hell Vosh. We'll use the horse fucker as a example here, despite the fact that he's an
Mr. Hands?
awful. Oh, Jesus Christ! That yeah, I could have lived the rest of my life not remembering that. But basically, um, he basically
Whoa,
said
curse
that
of Mr.
he
Hand's remembrance be upon you.
Jesus, but he basically said
Incredible,
that I don't think
incredible.
a kid or a child is sentient or should be considered human until they're like, I think it's somewhere in between 5 months and 5 years old where we can consider them a person. I think that the logical extreme of saying that life does not start at conception, which again scientifically it does, opinion or otherwise, which my opinion doesn't matter on this. Doctors have been saying it for years and scientists have been saying it for years, but if we don't have that as a system in place where we say that life starts in conception, the logical extreme is that we start saying that toddlers are not humans and not sentient, and we shouldn't care about them because they're not people.
Toddlers don't have theory of mind, therefore they're not really human.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not
That,
in my
that, that,
Yeah, like,
that's the
the, yeah, yeah,
logical
yeah.
extreme that comes to. But
By that logic, Mitch isn't really human either, so. Many people I've spoken to that aren't really human by that logic.
that's that. Yeah. So finally, we'll get to this last post, which is a Twitter post by Wall Street Apes, and it says, "This man nails it." Quote: "If you want to know if you are a real activist or a fake activist, just do this little test right here and ask yourself: If ICE was deporting MAGA people, would you be protesting in the streets or would you be celebrating in the streets? Would you be saying they are
Mm.
targeting U.S. citizens who pay their taxes and not breaking any laws, or would you be saying bye? If MAGA people were stalking, harassing, and intimidating, and insulting federal law enforcement, would you still be calling them protesters, or would you be calling them agitators, prov- pr- provocateurs,
Provocateur.
criminals, and terrorists? That word, I fucking hate that word. If you think a 115-pound unarmed woman jumping through a window deserved to be shot, but not when a woman driving a 2,000-pound weapon into an officer, congratulations, you're a fake activist. And I'm like, this is true, and we know this is true, and we know it's
Tell
the
him.
truth. Sir, you are being mocked, which I will name him not to shame him, but because he is a good man. He deserves
He's
to
a
be
good
credited.
man, Siobhan.
He deserves to be credited for his take. Says, I know I keep saying hypotheticals aren't evidence, but these double standards seem pretty clear to me, especially when much of the left has openly tried to downplay or support a terrorist against the right. And then Mitch responds in his infinite wisdom, serious question. In Nazi Germany, because of course fucking Nazi Germany, if the immigration police were for some reason deporting people who currently support the Nazi Party, would that be something that you'd expect people to be against? You're missing the context of everything. I'm pretty sure he's not. MAGA are openly fascist and openly bigoted. Citation needed. They range from being okay with turning a blind eye to oppression to being outright happy about it.
People
Citation
just be
needed.
saying things out here.
Yeah. Toradora here takes huge issue with me saying this because he considers it dehumanization. I don't want to call anyone a Nazi. You clearly do. Hell,
You did,
I
yeah,
was
actually,
MAGA.
it's really happy.
Yeah, he's happy calling
I
people
don't want
Nazis.
to be calling people Nazis. Word one.
Word one.
I just did it.
And for context,
Opening line,
Mitch is
"In Nazi
Canadian.
Germany."
Mitch is Canadian. That's important context here. And he even goes so far as to say, hell, I was MAGA. No, you were not. I can guarantee you were not. But I have friends that I love in fucking Canada that are MAGA right now. Mitch has said that they're Canadian, and I'm pretty sure every time I've said that they're Canadian, they've never rebuted me on that, because but the way that they worded that makes it sound like they're not in Canada. Anyways, that's confusing. But we have to face facts that sometimes you have to do hard things to defend what you believe in. On the right track,
Good.
but not the conclusion. You're not going to get to the right conclusion. I'm not
Yeah.
advocating for killing anyone. Historically, that's not true, but we're not going to go there. But I have no choice but to call a spade a spade. MAGA is a fascist movement. Again, citation needed. Plus, the meme outright lies about Renee Good at the end for no reason. If you think Renee Good was shot, it was a good shoot, which there is argument for, it's a bad one, but it's there, then Ashley Babbitt was the shoot of the century in comparison. Now, I'm going to finish reading his response, but I'm going to break this down in a very
Unrelated,
small
by the way.
sentiment because this part needs to be talked about. Renee Good was driving a vehicle that happened to spin out on ice, like a patch of ice. Road ice, not people
That's not
ice.
confusing at
Yeah,
all. in
that's not
this
confusing at
context.
all. Yeah, for
She
road.
was onto a sheet of ice agents.
She slipped on a sheet of ice. Agents.
Trolley problem, but it's ice agents.
Yeah. Basically, she slipped on a patch of road ice, and her tires spun out. Had they not spun out, the speed at which the tires rotated implied that she was actually going to speed forward and not just run over the ice agent that who was in front of her, but that she wouldn't have stopped. And then only after the fact she backed up a smidgen and turned, but whenever she lurched forward, originally slipping on the ice, the vehicle did go forward, not by a lot, but it did make contact with the ICE officer. That is against the law because it classifies as assault of an officer. And in that state, because they've had previous issues before with people hitting cops and otherwise, it is considered a weapon. Which means that it was not just a clean shoot, it was a fantastic shoot. With Ashley Babbitt, it was a Navy woman who was unarmed, who was crawling through a window in the Capitol during the January 6th riot. Now, I will be the first to say, yes, it was a riot, but it was also a invoked riot with the 256 FBI and FBI-related individuals on the ground inciting the riot. But that's a different conversation. Fact is, Ashley Babbitt was crawling through a window. There was one officer next to 7 other officers. She literally had no reason to be shot. There were other protesters
No.
who were in the Capitol who were around the area, and none of them were getting shot, and they actually would have provided more danger to those officers being in closer proximity. The guy who shot Ashley Babbitt did not do a good shoot because she, 115-pound woman of about 5'4", 5'6", did not have anything on her that could have been presumed as a weapon. Her sheer existence in Mitch's argument was that she was an absolute danger threat despite the fact that there were 6 other officers present at the time. No, that's fucking retarded. Anyways, we'll keep reading. Anyways, Ashley at least had a goddamn warning and had to fully follow through on her actions before she was shot. No, that's no. The officers in that shooting, at least officers? No, one officer shot her, only one, and he was significantly undertrained. In that shooting, actually had a reason to shoot rather than just being a pure reaction like it was with Good. So when you're an officer and you're getting hit by a vehicle, that's just a reaction. But if a 115-pound woman with no armaments at all comes into a room, that's fear enough to kill people. That's
Yeah, I think I
That's
actually need to cut in here because this is just straight up completely upside down framing. Like, oh, he had a reason to shoot her. That you're arguing for extrajudicial killing. You're arguing for, well, I agree with her being killed as a consequence of the thing that she was doing that I didn't like her doing. Whereas Renee Good was doing something I agree with, therefore she shouldn't have faced consequences for it. That's not the point. It's not the job of the police to kill people for doing bad things. It's the job of the police to enforce the law, and
not
the thing that they are sometimes forced to do while doing that, because when you're dealing with criminals, and with crime, you're putting yourself in dangerous situations, often as part of the job.
Yep.
Is sometimes you're forced into self-defense situations. Renee Good was a self-defense shooting, which is why the officer wasn't charged for it. That is why it was a instinctive decision of the moment. Which is also why all of these, if you zoom in and look at the wheels at this exact angle, or sift through 40 different angles of video footage, you can tell that she wouldn't have actually had him. It doesn't matter, because what matters is that the officer was standing in front of the car and the car was accelerating, and he was in a situation where, depending on what he does, he either goes home to his family or he dies. And he made a call, and the call is that Renee Good got herself killed via cop by trying to run them over with a car and forcing them into a self-defense situation. You don't have absolute knowledge in that situation, you just have to work with what you got. And conventional, or the wisdom of putting it to people who know much, much more about this kind of stuff, all of them will tell you, if you're in that situation, you always go with the safest option. If you can just leave, you should just leave. If you have to neutralize a threat, just neutralize the threat. You do not gamble with those things. You do not go maybe she's not meaning it, maybe she won't just run me over. You don't do that. You just take out the threat. Just do.
And I've worked with cops. I understand this metric because they do have to protect themselves. Several states have implemented laws that says if a person drives a vehicle directly at you, you are not only well within your means, but you are expected to put them down. Because that is classified as a weapon under law due to changes in the law because of how many people were trying to run over cops.
I mean, it's controversial opinion. So sorry.
Okay.
Just very short sentence. Controversial opinion. Neither woman should have died. Like, it's a shame. It's a life lost. I genuinely don't think that she wanted to kill anyone. What people are saying about ice the sheets, that's actually, I believe that it's very likely. Minnesota is a cold ass fucking place. But realistically, well, the cop doesn't know that. He couldn't have known that. And he's saving not only his life in his mind, but also everyone
You're
else.
you're right. I mean, that is. I mean, you're correct. Like he
Because
couldn't have
while
known.
you're in a car,
I mean, yeah, obviously, like it's weird that we have to point this out, but like you can count on one hand the amount of people who will actually tell you, oh yeah, it's good that Renee Good was like shot and killed. That's a good thing. And
yeah,
we're
I
happy
don't
about it.
think
Like
I
that's
don't
not
think there are a
really a
lot of people are
thing. Yeah,
celebrating. Yeah,
that's not really a thing that we do. Like it's a tragedy. We just understand how it happened, and we understand that, like, while it is a tragedy, we understand that it's a tragedy that she caused herself, and it's something that is not the fault of the officer that shot and killed her. It's the fault of her for trying to run him over and forcing him into that situation where he saw no way out of the, like, no safe way out of the situation except to neutralize the threat that was presenting itself to him.
Yeah.
Whereas Ashley Babbitt is very much a case of,
yeah,
it very much looks like a case of the guy just fired into a crowd.
Yeah, pretty much, because she wasn't the only person like trying to crawl through a window, which again, I will say this because I know it would be brought up. She should not have been crawling through the window. But having said that, if FBI hadn't been inciting
yeah. She
the
shouldn't have.
riot on the ground, I don't think that there would have been a riot on January 6th. There are several there were over like 50 informants on the ground, and lots of plainclothes officers, both PD, FBI, and I think that there were some fucking NSA on the ground. Like, if you were telling me that when there were Antifa there, there were actual Antifa there, also trying to incite a riot. If you were telling me Antifa was
Well
embedded
times.
in that, and they were actually trying to yell at people to, raid the freaking raid the building, they were inciting a riot, and I guarantee you none of them got locked up. But we can actually talk about January 6th as an entirety, a different, like, during a different stream. But I
Oh
want to
yeah,
like
it's like
finish
it's a
like
whole entire own
yeah,
subject
that's an
that
entire
we could
subject.
spend
Yeah, so
several hours
But
on.
I will continue reading Mitch's response. Renee was fully turning away from Jonathan Ross whenever she was shot. No, she wasn't. We know this, but he didn't, and that's the point. Not because of the video, not just because of the video evidence, but because of her bullet wounds. There was very little indication she was trying to hit him. I'm going to agree with L here. I don't think the intention was by Renee Good was to kill him, but my thought process is it's not that she wanted to. It's that she didn't care if she did, because she would have been proud of herself had she done it. Because that's the type of people these people are. Anyways, I'll
yeah,
finish
likely.
reading this. There was every indication she was fleeing, which is still a felony. Yeah, you don't put people down for a felony, but regardless,
I mean, yeah,
if
then
her
we're
car
back to
was
like the original point of like the point isn't like
yeah.
the Mitch framing of it's bad that Renee Good was shot because I don't think she deserved to be shot for what she did, but it's
Yeah.
good that Ashley Babbitt got shot because I think she morally deserved to get shot for what she did. Like that's not what it is.
Yeah,
Like,
but here's the weird part. He says there was every indication that she was fleeing. If her car were aimed at Ross, shooting her wouldn't have saved him, and it would and did endanger other people's lives when it crashed a runaway vehicle. You don't know that somebody's foot is going to slam on the gas and not just move itself when someone gets shot. So this is just like projection and like assuming. It's like more people could have died because of the shot. It's like more people could have died if she wasn't shot. Like,
Yeah,
he
like
could have
now
died,
you're
other
like,
bystanders could have shot because she was trying to get away from the cops. Like, you think
like
she
she was
would have
very
stopped?
clearly accelerating.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? It's like, oh, like she might have accelerated unpredictably in a weird direction when she got shot. But like, what she was going to do is just accelerate into like a bunch of officers. Like, what? How do you think that's going to go? Like, what's
Yeah.
you're saying it's like, oh, you put everyone in
Yeah,
danger
but
stopping her. Like, contrary to what exactly?
Yeah. It's just kind of
yeah,
dumb.
but the issue is that Mitch does want his eyes crushed. Insert TikTok meme here. So he doesn't care about that. Actually, he wants that outcome. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Now we get back to the man, the myth, the legend. Sir, you are being mocked in response.
Love that guy.
Serious
Mitch.
question. In Nazi Germany, if the immigration
Yeah.
police were, for some reason, deporting people who currently supported the Nazi Party, would that be something you'd expect people to stand against? And anytime I read anything that you've previously heard from Mitch, it's a quotation by Sir to kind of respond. Then he shows Godwin's law. Length of internet discussion, probability of references to Nazis. I
I
think I've
was
been pretty
like gonna bring
consistent.
that up as well.
I've been pretty consistent on my. I don't think the government should punish people for crime think, barring extremes like supporting terrorism stance. You know, like you just did low key. And even then, I think it should be done extremely rarely. You are missing the context of everything. MAGA are openly fascist and openly bigoted. I'll read it in a terrible voice so you can tell who is actually talking.
I mean, we have to understand which
Very,
are quotes.
very adult of
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I think you're missing the context that actual target audience
Yeah.
of the meme and post simply aren't people who believe the same things as you do. Hell, I was MAGA. I have friends that I love in fucking Canada that are MAGA right now. I think you, in quotes, he says, I think you are as bad as the most notorious regime in human history and are willfully evil and should be suppressed and punished to the maximum extent the government is capable of. Also, I oppose fascism. Also, you should listen to me when I try the old false empathy trick. Unless, of course, you only said that part to look reasonable to other leftists. By the way, Weimar Germany tried to silence the Nazi Party. It didn't work out. One of them wrote a moderately successful book, Adolf Hitler, Mein Kampf. You may have heard of it.
Moderately
Damn.
Plus, the meme outright lies about Renee Good at the end for no reason. If you think Renee Good was good, shoot, which there is an argument for, it's a bad one, but it's there. Then actually Babbitt was the shoot of the century in comparison. Not a counter argument. So, an unarmed woman crawling through a window was an immediately deadly threat to a bunch of armed riot cops, but not a woman driving a car directly at a cop in plain view of a few feet in front of her telling her to stop, even though she had to change from reverse to drive to do that. You're still doing the exact, I assume the enemy has the same beliefs that I do and are willfully evil thing. Ashley at least had a goddamn warning and had to fully follow through on her actions before she was shot. The officers in the shooting at least had an actual rational reason for the shoot rather than just being pure reaction like it was with Good. The cops at Good's shooting yelled at her to stop and get out of the car. They physically tried to
Several
remove
minutes
her.
of this.
Do what?
Several minutes of this, by the way.
Yeah,
If you
several
watch the
minutes,
video,
yes.
it's several minutes.
How much more warning could she have gotten before you admit she was responsible for her own actions exactly? Renee was fully turning away from Jonathan Ross when she was shot, and the cop was supposed to determine that in a second or two? How? Well, we know this not just because of the video evidence, but because of her bullet wounds. That I'm sure like a hand wave and not actually a checkable claim. IMO, the video evidence shows she was driving towards him when she could have just stopped, and he had visibly bounced off the front and officially got injured. Also, the cop's bullet wounds don't determine what Good was doing before he fired, or what her intent was. Personally, I think she panicked and did something very stupid and wrong. There was every indication she was fleeing. Okay, but driving away with a cop hanging out your window can easily kill that cop. There were cops in the UK who tried to stop car thieves, got caught in something, and were dragged to death over a mile. Also, fleeing arrest itself is
Rest in
illegal.
peace.
Huh?
Rest in peace to
Yeah,
those
I know, right?
officers. Unrelated, just felt necessary.
Yeah, rip. If her car were aimed at Ross, shooting her wouldn't have saved him. So he should have just done an acrobatic roll out of the way of the SUV that was basically an arm length away. You know, it's a lot faster to bring up your arms than it is to move your entire body, right? At least you're willing to discuss Good's actions, which more than most of her defenders do. Yeah. And then Mitch responds with a super long thing. I'm going to read parts of it, not to like miscontext, but I'm not going to do the voice because this is his response. This is just not a serious
No,
response at
it's okay.
all. Okay, you could literally probably just read this first sentence and just not take the rest of what he's about to say seriously, because every single point from the previous response that he made was addressed and addressed well.
This is not a serious response. Why? Because it disproves me completely, and I disagree with this heavily.
Yeah,
It's
pretty
we're
much.
really just going back to I assume everyone has the same beliefs as me, and therefore anyone who disagrees with me has to do it maliciously.
Oh, well, that's the problem with like, and that's the reason I don't like most progressives, is because that's their entire belief system. They think everyone thinks exactly the same way they do in every single way, and so that they have to take what you do into their belief system and then take and figure out how to get to that point. So they literally work backwards in their own mind using their own rationality, not yours, to figure out why you did something. And if their conclusion is it was only because of racism, evil, sexism, or some sort of like bigotry or phobia, then that's the only thing that you could have been thinking at the time. Literally nothing else. Which is a wild system to think about considering they say everyone is different and should be respected. And that's been like the leftist mythos for like the as long as I can remember, is everyone is always different and they should be loved and respected regardless. And it's like, okay, but none of
But
you can
everyone
put
thinks the
yourself in
same.
anyone else's shoes and everyone thinks exactly the same. What?
It is, incidentally, this is something that I mentioned earlier. It displays a severe lack of theory of mind. Just the straight up inability to even entertain the idea that someone might be thinking about something differently, or might be having different priorities, or operating with different information, or just straight up just disagreeing with you on like why or how, or like how you should be done, how something should be done.
Yeah. But
Yeah, it's either the hive mind or the outside. And the hive mind is completely good and has the same as the I do, and the outside are dangerous and will kill you because they hate
Yeah,
you.
it's literally because like they have their frame of mind and they cannot conceptualize someone else having a different mental framework to them. So the only logical conclusion when someone disagrees with them is it has to be malicious. It has to be that you agree with me on like that, like if we like deport illegals they will die on the spot, like they will be taken to the border and then just disintegrate into dust immediately or whatever.
basically be Thanos snapped away. That is the language that they use all the time too. But I'll try to read a little bit more of this. It's like you guys are incapable of understanding that the Nazis were real people that existed in history. Okay, so that's not a full sentence. There's a comma
Huh?
there. You guys are incapable of understanding that Nazis were real people that existed in history, that they dehumanized themselves by becoming monsters, that we are all
No, no,
capable
no,
of
no, no, no,
becoming
no.
that, and that just simply not identifying as a bad guy doesn't make you immune from it. That is such a
It's funny because that's the same argument that we like use against like that we make with Antifa when they're saying it's like, oh, we can't be we
Yeah, we
can't
can't
be
be evil. Our
authoritarian.
name is
It's
literally
it's literally
anti-fascist,
anti-fascist.
guys.
It's like we call ourselves the anti-bad guy squad. Therefore,
Therefore,
it's
no, but by the
literally
way, Mitch doesn't understand this, I think, because he's American
I think
as
he's
well
Canadian.
as
Let me. I'm
well,
under
yeah,
the
but still
impression that he's
America,
Canadian.
like the
Well, yes, the
continent.
continent
Yeah, but
America, yeah,
still the
North America.
continent.
He is
as
North
America,
American.
non-European.
Well, okay, so I get confused with that.
He's not
So
a
whenever
European.
people say USA American, I get kind of annoyed, and I'm like, no, say North American, because North America is a continent. South America is a continent. When you say USA America, you were obviously talking about the United States, yes, but North America and South America are two
I
different
always
regions.
thought that USA American just meant like an abbreviation of USA American, like use
It kind of
yeah,
is, but
use
it's
American.
frustrating the
I mean,
context
it
it's
is
used
the
in.
United States of America, so you kind of brought that on yourselves also, just saying.
A little bit, but
Yeah,
it still
guys.
gets confusing.
And it comes from us, Amerigo Vespucci. It's our man who named your entire continent. How does that feel? Uh, but anyway, jokes aside, Mitch probably doesn't understand this. Well, because he is from the continent of America, but other European in Discord server, you will probably agree with me when you'll know that people in like Axis countries where the majority at a certain point in the 30s and early 40s, basically everyone was of that party. Like 70, if not more percent of the people in Italy were fascists. That was everyone was a fascist technically. It's not like they
Oh
were
yeah, you
part
had to
of the
be part of the
party and
party.
they voted for it.
You couldn't
Yeah,
operate
but
in
I mean, they
society if you weren't
voted
part of the party. It was
Yeah.
a whole thing of
yeah,
like, if you were Jewish, you couldn't join the party, and that was bad. That made life so much harder. Like you couldn't find work if
yeah.
you weren't part of the party. You couldn't like
I,
networking was impossible if you weren't part of the party.
Yeah, and I don't think people maybe outside of our continent understand, and some people in our continent still don't, that many people, it was the norm. And up until a certain point, it wasn't a dictatorship. It wasn't like evil, it slowly became that. It doesn't make these people monsters, as Mitch is saying here. You are dehumanizing yourself into becoming a monster. Bitch, they were random people that were making the most random jobs. They probably didn't believe those things. They probably didn't even know about most of the things. It was actually very straightforward that the majority of people, the masses, were not aware of what was going on, right? And so I hate the dehumanizing thing by becoming monsters. That's a horrible argument in of
It's
itself,
also
and
historically
Yeah,
that's
inaccurate.
all I have to say.
yeah, people like fail to understand this. The Nazi Party was elected, and they were elected because
Yeah,
Germany was a shithole after World War One. Like
yeah,
Germany got so
yeah, the fascists as
really
well.
trounced in World War One. There were like 6 countries they had to pay like
Reparations.
reparations to after the war. They were flat broke. Like
Yeah,
you know that old black and white picture of like the kid playing with bundles of cash like they're playing blocks. That was Weimar Germany currency. It
yeah,
was
we have them in
fixed and
history
the
books.
paper it was printed on. Like if you wanted to buy a loaf of bread, the joke was you'd have to show up at the bakery with a wheelbarrow full of money.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
Yeah,
And like any party that shows up and goes, we're just gonna stop paying reparations and get the economy back running, like everyone would have voted for them.
Yeah, they could have been the "we are going to literally kill everyone but ourselves" party, and that would have gotten in due to the fact that people have a focus more on themselves and their immediate like neighbors, family, nation, etc., than they do the outside world. And if nuking the entirety of the outside world, assuming nukes would have been a big thing at that point, they would have been like, you know what, fuck everyone else, we want food. That's
Glass
kind of
the
how it
whole
would have
point.
And
worked.
it's
Yeah.
understandable.
Glass everyone, we want food. But
Anyway,
I will have to leave for dinner in like right now.
oh well, fun times.
okay.
So
Yeah.
I will just finish this one point of like I just so everyone is aware, I am the foremost authority on Nazi Germany here as an Austrian who our country ceded the fucker that started it all, and then we also got annexed. So jot that down.
Yeah, that
You're wrong.
bitch.
You know nothing about Nazis. Funnily enough, the whole like if they just punched Nazis in the street back then, this wouldn't have happened. They did. Do you know how there was a whole thing of how like the Communist Party at the time would just go out in gangs and just beat up
Oh
Nazis.
yeah.
They would just do that. And you know what that did? You know what that
Oh
did?
yeah. Also, they're
It
not
made them
prepared.
it made them more popular because
With
they
the
looked like the innocent martyrs who were being attacked by the communists for no fucking reason.
unbelievable.
Yep. All right. Well,
Yeah. Also, you'll be surprised when Nazi what actually they were the National Socialists.
yeah.
That's mind blowing. Some people. Oh
So
well,
no,
but
no, it's
Wow,
just a
they were
name. Oh, but
socialist?
Antifa
Oh
then.
no, they totally lied to, lie about what socialism is because, they had that kind of foresight. No, no, I can guarantee you that was not what happened. But anyways,
no.
we will
I need to roll
continue, but we
this.
are going to let Duck the snapping turtle the
What?
snapping turtle leave so they
The
can go get
Austrian
dinner.
social.
And
I should be
I will keep
fine.
the Italian for a few more minutes and then let them go, and we will end off after that. So
Yeah, Italians eat late. It's fine.
okay, but the turtle will leave at some point whenever they drop off, but we will continue in the duration of that time. And meanwhile, I'm tuttering that Junior. Um, get back to what Mitch was saying. In regards to Babbitt, she was not a in regards to Babbitt, she was not a threat to the officers. That's not the justification for the shoot. Okay, so this is an interesting like thing right here because obviously they're going to talk about they're going to continue to talk about this. She wasn't a threat, and she was still shot. So there is no argument after this point. He admits it himself that she wasn't a threat, and then she tries to say that Good was not a threat when she was in a vehicle, which is basically a 2,000-pound metal box that effectively operates like a missile.
Weapon. There is. It's literally a weapon. We are taught in school that cars are weapons and to be careful with them.
Yes. They were kept keeping a riot at bay while they were evacuated government officials who were at potential risk of injury or death. So I don't want to get into the January 6th whole thing now, but I will say that I do not think that there were actually any officials that were at risk for injury or death, purely because the rioters were there to make their voices heard, not to actually hurt anyone. But there was like, oh, they had rope and other stuff and whatnot. And I'm like, I'm going to assume that either one, they found some of the most down south fucking like redneck people who were just like, I don't give a fuck the government, like types of people,
Yeah.
or some of the people who were embedded, which was a lot of people who were embedded. Um, they found
Yeah,
one
we
of those
got
people to bring that
Viking,
stuff
bro.
in. Viking bro. Oh, are you talking about the shaman?
Yeah, oh, the shaman. I don't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, the shaman, bro.
Yeah, he was kind
It
of he
was
was.
very dangerous.
Oh yeah, the most dangerous man in the world being escorted by cops and literally given best tour you could possibly imagine. It's like, oh yeah, this room they've got these things, and in this room they've got these things, and if you look to your left.
Yeah, this giant red button. If you push it, it's nuclear winter.
Yeah, it's
Wanna
like,
try?
yeah, yeah, you wanna push the button? You totally do, right, right, right. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to grab your hand. That was, I totally didn't mean to grab your hand. To almost push the button. No, that'd be terrible, right? That's kind of how the whole thing felt to me. But it's
End of
like
the world.
Renee Good was not directly driving at anyone. That's false. I tried to apprehend Good. She tried to escape. That does not justify her being executed. Okay, I'll give Mitch this. Like, he is correct, but the problem is the fact that he still justified Babbitt's, like, in the initial post. And this is one of his, again, his whole, like, moving the goalpost things.
Yeah.
In the first post, he made it out like Babbitt deserved to get shot, and that Good didn't. And in this one, he's trying to basically say, well, Babbitt, wasn't a threat, but and it's like that's not the justification. It's like, yeah, but she wasn't anywhere near anyone who could have been a threat, or she couldn't have been a threat to anyone, not the officers, not the congressmen, because they had been evacuated prior to the larger part of the breach where this was happening. So that's just like that's a non sequitur. And then it's like ICE tried to apprehend Good as she tried to escape. It's like, yes, because she committed several felonies. She was impeding the investigation by federal law enforcement. She was resisting arrest because they were trying to like lawfully detain her, which is their right as law enforcement to do so. And then she hit an officer with a car after like several minutes of being told to get out of the car. Which, if she would, here's the thing, and I'm never going to get away from this. She would still be alive right now if she had complied with a lawful order after being literally breaking the law, which it is a federal crime to impede federal law enforcement. I'm pretty sure it's a felony to impede operations of law enforcement. So she
It
was
is.
literally in
Yeah, I
the
remember
process
it
of
is.
committing a crime whenever they were trying to detain her to get her out of the vehicle to arrest her because she was committing a crime, and then she tried to flee a scene, which is another crime. In the process doing so, hitting an officer, committing another crime, all of which are fucking felonies.
Yeah, knowing that she has a family, like she chose to put herself in a position where she would leave her family either because she went to jail or in the tragic case that happened because she died. It's an extra level of, well, that's that's a bad decision. Like once you have a family, that's your priority. You should prioritize them always. It You cannot play hero, especially because you're not a hero in this case. Because well, they they are trying to do the right thing, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's tragic.
But I will so he goes on like he just keeps bitching, but then he gets to this. Even in your hilarious characterization where he had to do a big stunt to get out of the way, which is completely inaccurate and proof you did not closely examine the footage. So the funny thing about this is she actually, whenever she backed up and turned her vehicle, she actually put him nearly in the middle of her like hood. That's the funny thing. Like he was like further to the left on the further to the driver's side, being close to like on fully on the side whenever she went forward, but whenever
Mm-mm-mm.
she impacted him. But whenever she backed up, the way she turned her vehicle was completely facing him. Like I watched the videos a few
Yeah,
times, but
yeah,
the
yeah. I
thing is,
remember.
you are not expected in law to prove that you were entirely justified. You have to be able to show that there was a reasonable belief that your life was in danger. Reasonable being the particular case there, because if cops did not have a reason or have a statute of which if they are allowed to do what they need to do if they reasonably believe that they are in danger, then they would not do their jobs because they would always just be like, well, it's not my job to make sure that anyone doesn't do anything stupid because I might die, and if I have to write a 50-page report showing that I had absolute 360 degree video proof that I could analyze in point 0.2 seconds that I was gonna die. It's such a dumb threshold to meet because he was in front of the vehicle regardless. At any point, even before she turned her vehicle, after she turned her vehicle, he was still in front of the vehicle. Like,
He
it doesn't
was,
matter
yeah,
where
absolutely.
in the
And
front of the
yeah,
vehicle he is, he's just in the front of the vehicle.
and I think the point you made, like, which is completely inaccurate and proof that you did not closely examine the footage. And the way I see it as a closing argument is that if you need to closely analyze the footage, so like maybe pausing, going back, slowing it down, it means that it's not clear cut. Okay, it's not something that is obvious. So how do you expect a person that is there in this situation as a split second of thinking about it, how do you expect him to arrive to the same conclusion, which might be correct? He might have been fine, she might have completely missed them, unrelated, because if you need to really look at it closely to determine that, there's no way he would have known in a real life setting where he has a fraction of a second to think about it.
Well, it's funny because they effectively expect cops and other people in similar situations to act like Hollywood stars, where they know what's going to happen. It's like, oh, I expect this person to be basically John
Slow-mo.
Wick in order to be a good officer. And it's like, you do realize that like Hollywood overhypes literally fucking everything, right? Like yes, there are people who are really good at their job and a cop who is well trained enough to be able to be on the level of something akin to a John Wick as it were would literally be in the special forces or would be a part of like an elite SWAT
Yeah,
team. They
exactly.
wouldn't be a fucking ICE officer, which he says like in one part of his like was this guy just not trained? And it's like you cite an instance where like several months prior he got dragged by another vehicle while he was trying to detain an illegal and he had some like he had injuries because he got dragged inside of the like the driver's side window of the vehicle. So clearly he was trained. It's just you're trying to make it out
Mm-mm.
like you're making an argument and you're just not. And then finally he's like, that's why this whole thing is ridiculous. Why did he not die? Why did he not die? You made the claim that she was headed straight for him. Did killing her make the car suddenly turn so violent that he no longer needed to perform an acrobatic stunt to evade her? Or did she simply turn direction away from him before she was shot? No, she was turning her car as much as possible because she was being shot at because she wasn't abiding the law. Like, whenever you see a gun, your immediate instinct is to turn away if you're not also armed. Like that is a
Yeah.
fact. You are trying
Yeah,
to
if I'm
get out of
being
that
shot, I'm
situation as soon
probably
as
going to
possible.
go away.
Yeah, but all he had to do was like take 2 steps back. Most of her defenders don't want to talk to you about her actions because you guys turn every inch into a mile. No, actually, literally, so
Damn.
cops are not expected. Cops, law enforcement. I'm going to say law enforcement because law enforcement encompasses all of law enforcement, both federal and local.
Mm-mm.
Law enforcement are not expected to know. Like, so there was a ruling, I don't remember when it was, that basically said that if a cop is to go or a law enforcement officer is to go to trial for anything that they do, they cannot be expected to they cannot the prosecution cannot use a frame by frame breakdown of an incident to basically put them in jail for what happened because a frame by frame analysis is drastically different from what is happening in the moment and the processing speed in which you have to understand a situation where your POV is one angle very specifically and you are in a moment where you have a higher stressor. And if that stressor exists, then there has to be a situation in which you're like, okay, well, this situation is intense. I can only act so well under this intense situation. And then you'll get people like Mitch going, well, why aren't they superheroes? Why can't they just be, immovable under stress? Why aren't they perfect in literally
Because
every
he's
way?
Joe and he's 55 years old and he just wants his paycheck. That's why.
Well, yeah, but I get
Just
to
a random dude. It's
yeah,
not a
pretty much.
hero.
Yeah, pretty much. And it always just frustrates me because yeah, hold on, let me get to this part because he brings up fucking Trump again, which is hilarious to me. All he had to do was take 2 steps back. Most of her defenders don't want to talk to you about her actions because you guys turned every inch into a mile. Already read that. The length of the mental gymnastics you'll
Yeah, we read
resort
that.
to just so you can swallow one more salty Cheeto load knows no limit.
What a
Is
thing
that
to
a
return to. Oh
saying
my
I'm
god.
aware of? What the hell does that mean? Oh,
Wait,
hello!
the
What
turtle's
the
back.
heck does
Yeah,
that
pretend.
mean?
Yeah,
What the fuck?
hold on. I'll reread that because you missed the first part. It's like all he had to do was take like 2 steps back. Most of her defenders don't want to talk to you about her actions, Renee Good, because you guys turn every inch into a mile. I already broke that down. The length of mental gymnastics you'll resort to just so you can swallow one more salty Cheeto load knows no limit.
What does that even mean?
Is that like
He's talking about
an
Trump again.
euphemism? Is that an euphemism?
Yeah,
He's
Oh,
this
yeah, it is an euphemism. Salty Cheeto.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
yeah,
he's
this
Uh,
is
talking about taking a
what?
load from Trump.
This isn't even this isn't even about Trump.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
it's
yeah,
really
to
not.
the extent that he's the president and it's his
I'm too
policy to
interested for
deport
this.
illegals, but like, uh, that's not what this is about. It's really just about, hey, maybe don't run over law enforcement officers. You might force them to defend themselves from you trying to kill them.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the simplest version of the
It's
breakdown
completely, you
possible.
don't need to talk about any of like the reason why she's there, the reasons why the officers are there. Like tangentially you could say like, oh yeah, she was getting arrested for like what's the term, um she was she was about to be
She was
arrested for like
impeding law
disrupting an
enforcement.
arrest.
Yeah, she was impeding
In
law enforcement.
obstructing a lawful arrest was the thing.
Yeah.
Like she was obstructing a lawful arrest, and that's a crime, and she was getting arrested for that. Which is like, oh, they had no reason to like do anything to her. Like she was a law-abiding citizen. First of all, no, she wasn't. But that's tangential. That's a secondary issue. The core issue is you try to run over law enforcement officers, and you've put them in a situation where they had to very quickly decide what to do about you trying to run them over with a car.
Yeah.
And the
And then they
Yeah,
expect them
when
to have
it's
like
down,
360-degree
yeah,
knowledge of what was going on.
yeah, when push came to shove, things shook out in such a way that the split-second snap decision that this officer made was, I need to stop her doing this by any means necessary, or I might die. And that's a fair assessment of the situation, to be perfectly honest. Like, there's not much else to be talking about. It's like, oh, it's fascist. God
Yeah,
damn it.
it's fucking stupid. I'll read the last part of what he said for this particular this part of this paragraph. He says that's why.
Yeah, and then
Or
I'll have to leave y'all.
okay, it's like you come off as completely bad faith at worst and ontologically evil at best.
What?
Dude.
Why is ontologically evil better than bad faith?
I don't fucking know. Do you
At
have any
least if
comment
you're
on this before you
ontologically
leave, El?
evil, you're honest about the shit you're talking about.
That's true. El, do you have anything you want to like say about that specific thing before you head off?
Yeah, no, but right, because I think it is just saying that in translating it like in non-supercilious terms, it's you're completely evil under every aspect of it, reality and existence, because that's what ontology studies, like existence and reality. So I'm guessing what he is saying is that under every, it's subjectively evil. And like, damn,
Yeah,
that's harsh. That's very harsh.
yeah,
Not even a
Very difficult to
different
be
perspective.
objectively evil.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Because they
very
don't.
difficult.
That type doesn't believe in objective evil. You have to remember, like Everything is
Unless you're
subjective evil
white
to them.
or Republican or Hitler. Hitler is objectively evil. I would argue Hitler is not objectively evil. And that's a loaded statement to make, but it's along the same way that like no one is the villain in their own story. Everyone has a reason for what they're. Everyone thinks that they're like doing something for like the cause that they're trying to get to, and in that sense, you cannot say anyone is objectively evil. Objectively evil would be like the lawful evil. Okay, like
Yeah.
there's
Lawful,
probably people that
lawful good.
it's like chaotic evil. I kill because it makes me happy to see people suffer. Like, there's definitely people like that, but like, there's not that many people like that. And people generally like accuse
No.
your opposition of just saying, like, of just wanting to see people suffer for the fun of it, is a rough thing to come out with. Like you, at that point, you cannot be argued with because everything anyone can say to you will just lead back to, well, you just like to see people suffer because it makes you happy. Like, how do you argue your way out of that?
Yeah.
Or
All right. So we are
yeah,
going
it's
to
pretty
pause for.
impossible. Like yeah, that's it.
Go ahead. I'll let you finish, and then after you finish, we will let you out, and me and the turtle will continue.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that. Yeah, I don't even think like I don't think Mitch is evil. I think he's just kind of stupid, and more than stupid, it's like not willing to understand that most of the time is to understand that the other side, what the other side is saying, us included. Like it's a very difficult thing to do. What I think we did with this podcast is explain more clearly our point of view.
Yes.
He won't watch it realistically, but
Oh, he
hey,
might hate watch it. He might.
I mean, I've already come out with Hitler's not ontologically evil, so that will be quoted back to me for all eternity.
Probably. All right.
I've done it. I've pulled the headline.
So we are going to let go of L for now. L will probably show up on the next episode if we can
Yeah.
schedule timing correctly. But for now, everybody say bye to L, and we will continue after. Bye, L.
Bye. I waved at my camera. That was completely
everyone.
pointless.
I would wave to
Bye.
my camera, but
Ciao.
my VTuber model won't do anything.
I'm waving as well. Damn, he's useless. Good night.
Okay.
He's such a himbo.
I know, right? I wish I could make my model wave and it won't do it. Anyways, so
That's sad.
that is why that's why I seem so radical these days. I don't want this. I want milk toast liberalism, but I'm seeing Nazis. I wonder what you would do when faced with fascism, because my bet is you think you're already faced with it, and you've systemically betrayed much of what you believe in to fight it. You guys have been subverted. That's the real truth of the matter. So you want to know what the funny thing about this is? He's like, I wonder what you would do when faced with fascism. Meanwhile, citing that, we are living under fascism. We are being ruled by a fascist. It's like, but bruh. I mean, yeah, I understand that, like, sir, you are being mocked is literally from, like, he lives in the UK somewhere, I'm pretty sure. But, like, they're worse
I
off
think
than
he's not
us
that far
by
away
a
from me, to be
large
honest.
metric. Like,
There's
if
people getting
anyone's...
arrested for jokes on the internet in
Yes,
this country.
yes,
A guy got put in jail because he put a thing of bacon, like he put a bacon sandwich in, like, on a door of a mosque. That's an arrestable offense in this country.
yeah, that's the dumbest thing. Like, whenever I see people quote the Constitution and be like, well, aren't you for constitutional law? I'm like, yes, you are correct. I am for constitutional law, which is why technically under the Constitution, abortion should be like absolutely illegal. Freedom of speech absolutely goes to a threshold in which, as long as you are not advocating for the death of somebody and inciting that death or inciting that violence, you can say things, and they can be atrocious things. But the funny part is, the Democrat Party has consistently railed against the First Amendment, and it's like, okay, so you care about the Constitution insofar as it limits the people you don't like, but the moment you want to do whatever the fuck you want to, and like whatever, then it shouldn't have any rails. Got it. Or it should be completely dismantled so only you can say what you want to say. Like that's the reality of what I see when I talk to these people, is that's what they want.
Yeah, it's like quoting the Bible at Christians. Like, you don't believe in this. You're just pulling sound bites from it that you think support what you want, and you're hoping that invoking like the opposition's
Yeah,
principles
I
will
will
shut them up.
I will read the meme because Michael Malice posted it on Twitter. You should let in more refugees because Jesus said to be more compassionate in the Bible somewhere. No, I'm not a Christian, and I have nothing but contempt for your backward religious beliefs. So yeah, this argument won't work on me, but maybe if I use it on you, you'll do what I want. Literally, that's
Yeah, it is.
that's
Yeah, the thing is, like, it is kind of, there's an element, or like we also kind of do this, or like you invoke like your opposition's principles when they're breaking them. The thing is, if you want to do that, you need to make sure that you're correct. Like, you can't just be saying, it's like, well, here's this one like line in the Bible that if you squint at it really hard, it totally like supports
means
all of my
something
positions,
opposite
and
of what it
yeah,
actually means.
and just is like, oh, you should be compassionate. That means you should be like you should be like running your entire country so Somalians can scam you for all you're worth.
Yeah,
Like, that's
yeah.
that's not what that means. That's not what any of that means.
Well, the thing is, they try to cite like all of these different freaking like Bible verses, and it's like, look, I'm not a Christian. I haven't been a Christian for a long time, but I was raised Baptist, and the fact of the matter is, I know more about the Bible than most of the people on Tumblr or Twitter or any website know about the Bible because I studied it for a while because I was curious about religious faiths, which is why I realized that between most of the different faiths, Islam, which I did skim reading of, rather than reading the whole thing because it's a lot of like just really heinous shit. Like, not all of it's heinous, obviously, but like a decent chunk of it is. I was just like, no, I'm good. This thing is like filled with holes, and it looks like somebody tried to rip off the Bible and make it into something else.
Yeah, it's just like it's like if someone took the like what's the name of the overarching series, the Dante's Inferno and
Yeah.
the other two that are less famous. If someone took like those books and formed a religion around them, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
Like, it's self-insert fanfiction,
Yeah, that definitely
Abrahamic
feels like it.
self-insert fanfiction.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's just funny, like reading this, because he's like, I think that Trump's a fascist. It's like, okay, do you know what a fascist is? I always hate the arguments that like to call people Nazis and fascists and shit like that, because I'm like, okay, first of all, do you understand what the definition of fascism is? And I recently saw a debate online where this guy was arguing that going after your political opponents is fascism. And I'm like, okay, wait. So
Okay,
fascism to you is going after your political opponents, but you're going to deny the fact that the Democrats ever went after the Republicans or conservatives at all? Are
going
you
after your political
dumb?
opponents is fascism. Everyone's fascist. It's meaningless. We've done it. Fascism has gone the way
Fascism
of
has,
racism.
yeah, it means absolutely nothing because, Biden's DOJ didn't arrest all of Trump's fucking lawyers for, and I quote, doing their job within the legal prospects of which they are allowed to do. That wasn't going after your political opponents. Running as the AG of a city for the sole purpose of going after a Republican. or a running Republican who isn't even technically a Republican, i.e. Letitia James going after Trump to try to get him on felony charges for stuff that they couldn't prove damages for. Yeah, that's not going after your political opponent. So according to that definition, she's a fascist too. It's like you are confusing authoritarianism and fascism. Yes, fascism is an authoritarian system, but authoritarianism is something very specific, and it's an umbrella term that a lot of things fall under. But even then, holding your opponents to actual proper legal standards, not made up fictional legal standards, is not going after your political opponents. It's uh, no one is above the law, guys. Sure,
Except for
sure.
Hunter Biden.
And except for Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Letitia James, Dr. Fauci, fucking Obama, Hillary Clinton. Yeah, no one's above the law except my team is effectively what I hear with that. If I had actual functional evidence that Trump broke laws and I could look at it and be like, yep, nope, he definitely broke the law, then I would say that yes, he deserves to serve the penalty for those. But the problem is, I can't even in good faith adhere to my own moral standard here because the other side is never forced to adhere to that same standard. So it's like, okay, I don't hate Trump. I don't necessarily love Trump. I think that he is better than okay. That is my view on Trump. And a lot of people are like, what do you
Net
mean?
positive.
Net positive. Plus one is still positive. When everything else was below ground, laying on the ground is a net positive.
It's weirdly kind of like what the UK is right now. So for those that missed it, the UK just went through like a local election cycle.
Oh, y'all won a shit ton of seats, right?
Oh yeah. Um, Restore UK didn't run in a lot of places. They primarily ran in one place, which is the home of the founder, and they swept that place. 100% of the seats in that place. The other party we have is Reform UK, which are
A bunch of
all right. Their leader is a flimsy loser who only like takes positions when someone else has already proven them popular.
Yeah.
He's a career politician.
He's a cuck. Just
down
call
to
him a
the bone.
cuck. He's a cuck.
I don't have evidence of who does or does not
no,
fuck his wife.
he's a political cuck. We'll call him a political cuck because he is a political cuck.
He's all right. Like his party is primarily Tories that he adopted for absolutely no fucking reason instead of getting someone competent for those positions.
Of course.
But it is better than what we had before, and yeah, they swept the entire country pretty much. Like,
Yeah. It's honestly wild.
yeah, like it's not, and it's the same. It's not perfect, but it's an improvement. It's it's probably going to be net positive, which is much better than what we've had before, which is net traitors.
Yeah, that's been a thing where it's just been like, ugh. Yeah, watching what's been happening to y'all's just kind of sucked. I'm not gonna lie, because it has been pretty bad.
Yeah, it's getting to the point where I'm just like, this, at the risk of sounding a bit radical, but maybe we should bring back hanging traitors.
I mean, yeah. Oh, we can talk about this one. I'll probably rebring it back up whenever, because yeah. Mitch was like not good on this one at all. It's like I finally come to this is me, by the way. I finally come to a point where I've decided that I'm going to properly die on this hill. I think that if that a child or a minor, if you think that a child or minor can permanently sterilize themselves or destroy their body taking cross-sex hormones or cut off body parts, they literally can't get back or can't get put back on, and certainly not in a functional way, then I am going to wholeheartedly assume that you think it's okay to have sex with the children. And the reason that I will die on this hill is because it is significantly less dangerous to have sex with a minor with the abortion bullshit that I see coming out of the left, broadly speaking, than it is to literally make a child a lifelong medical experiment. Although, to make it perfectly clear, I am for neither of those things. But if you can tell me that a 2-year-old knows that they are need to be lifelong medical patients that need to be on cross-sex hormones and have their genitals cut off, I'm going to assume that you have no fucking clue what the word consent means. And if a doctor or psychiatrist, or anyone else for that matter, if anyone tells you that a child can consent, they might be a huge problem. I'm going to insert my own self verbiage here. Wood chipper. And if anyone tells you that you either do this or your kid may kill themselves, they are exercising a process of they aren't exercising a process of informed consent. They are exercising fear to remove consent from both the child and the parent. Never you mind that Epstein was for transitioning children. That's a fact. Never you mind that John Money, one of the forefathers of the gender identity movement, was a pedophile. Never you mind that it has been discovered that many individuals who fancy themselves healthcare workers get turned on and get off when it comes to concepts like little boys having their balls cut off, i.e. they get off to eunuchs, or turning little boys into eunuchs. That's a thing too. There are individuals that fetishize making little boys eunuchs, and yet somehow I keep getting told that trans kids is perfectly fine. It's not, and I'm never going to pretend that it is. If you believe trans kids are a thing, then you are probably not far off from thinking that it is fine to diddle children, and I'm not sorry. And then Mitch responds, a lot to unpack here. First, you equate child and minor. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Generally speaking,
that's the definition.
Generally speaking, yes. I mean, obviously, in nuanced discussions, you will separate like mid to older teenager from like literal like toddler children, but that's for more nuanced conversations. This is not a nuanced conversation in regards. A minor can be anyone up to 17. Yes, there's a huge difference between 17 years old and 2 years old. I use 2-year-olds as an example because that's the example you're using later in this write-up. I think very few people would be in favor of 2-year-olds transitioning medically. I'm going to stop him right there and be like, no, that's not true. I have seen far too many people talk about how their like 2-year-old all the way up to their like 6-year-old is trans, and how they've already started putting them in dresses and buying them like the opposite sex's toys. Like, not that I think toys should be gendered, but that's not this conversation.
Right, yeah, you buy your kids the toys that they'll play with, like, whatever. It's not complicated, but, like, this is just, like, explicitly, like, you could just turn this on its head, like, well, this doesn't happen. It's like, alright, so no one will be harmed if it gets banned.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it doesn't happen, so let's get rid of it.
Just so no one gets any ideas, we're just going to ban it. You can't do that, that's transphobic. Okay, but you said it wasn't happening, so who exactly is this harming except for people that would do that? Like,
yeah.
You're already, by arguing that this doesn't really happen, you've already established, like, You've built your foundations on fucking sand.
Yeah, and the wave's about to hit, and you're just gonna suffer the consequences. And then it's
built your foundations in wet tissue paper, and there's more water coming. Like, it's literally just like, well, this doesn't happen. It's like, all right, then you've done two things. One, you've established that if it was banned, no one would be hurt by it because no one's doing it. And two, if it was happening, you've basically implicitly agreed that it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because if you were of the opinion that it's not a bad thing, or even a good thing, like good to neutral thing, like you would be arguing that. You would be saying, no, actually, it's fine that this is happening. Like, even if it was happening, it would be fine. But you're not arguing that. You're arguing that it doesn't matter because it doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's always how it starts. It's like, it's not happening. and then it's like, oh, well, it's happening, but it's not happening a lot, or oh,
It's happening, but it's a good thing,
it's
and then
happening,
it's
yeah,
happening, and if you have a problem with that, you're a bigot.
yeah, pretty much. Um, but then he goes, like puberty blockers are taken at 10 years old minimum. 2 years old are not in this discussion unless you were talking to fringe lunatics only, and there are too many of them. And also, I still disagree with puberty blocker. Okay, so I need to preface this because otherwise people are gonna like. I'm gonna definitely get the comments.
Yeah, people who transition children are fringe lunatics. Do you know who is also a fringe lunatic? Rapists and murderers.
Yeah,
And we
pretty
still
much.
have laws against that because it's bad and you shouldn't do it.
Exactly. But I will need to specify this. Puberty blockers are a thing that is used in various different forms, and the form in which puberty blockers are used is in a safe way is in micro doses to not block puberty but to throttle puberty, and that's for people who have early onset like gender issues or early onset like maturity, specifically where their hormones are out of
Kids who
sorts.
hit puberty too early.
Yeah, there are kids that hit puberty too early, and they
It's
do
like
need to
you
have
remember
like
that Doctor House
suppressants.
episode where the guy was on like penis enlargement pills and was accidentally super dosing his kids with testosterone, and a 7-year-old was starting puberty. Like, that's fictional,
Yeah,
like extremely fictionalized. But like
yeah,
there are kids that just
yeah,
go to puberty too early, and you don't want them to do that,
yeah.
like for medical reasons.
Obviously, and that's one of the only reasons I think that puberty blockers should be used. And honestly, they shouldn't be called puberty blockers at that point. They should be called puberty uh, suppressants, because in order to actually block puberty, you have to take like an obscene dosage amount in order to block like puberty from happening. But I will, I'm sure I'll get into that discussion like with the rest of this. But what I'm saying specifically is 10-year-olds should not be taking a dosage amount equivalent to enough to actually block puberty from happening, because it is statistically proven that most people who have issues where they believe themselves to be trans will grow out of it if they go through puberty. Like, that is a reality. But also, you're causing a litany of medical problems if you do put or give them enough puberty suppressants to block puberty. You're going to cause a litany of medical and developmental issues in that child. We've seen this to be true, and there's like medical proof of it. Anyways, I'll continue reading. Second, I can only assume that sex with children things sounded cooler in your head. Okay, first of all, I hate that wording because no, it doesn't sound cool. It sounds fucking awful. And that was the entire point. So you are going to say it's less dangerous to have sex with children because of abortion? Question mark. Very bizarre. The fact that you knew you had to clarify you were against sex with children in the next paragraph probably should have been your sign to go back to the drawing board on this one, Chief. No. My argument in this entire sentiment is strictly the fact that the reason that we have made it illegal to have sex with children is because it is harmful to children. We have, as a society, created a threshold at which you are supposed to be mature enough to actually have sex and start taking action, or to start taking responsibility for your own actions. Like, that's just how it is. And the reality is, we've collectively made that the line in the sand. But whenever you have sex with minors, specifically young minors, you are likely going to cause significant mental and physical harm to them the younger that they get. However, this harm is drastically less than mutilating their body both chemically and physically. Because trauma can be healed from. Both physical and like emotional trauma can be healed from. You cannot heal from having your parts cut off and your puberty halted. Those just aren't the same. And I'm not
I
making.
feel like you're kind of talking yourself into a corner here. Like,
Not really.
I
They're both bad, and they can both be bad.
no, I know what you're getting at, but just to like the way I understand it, just so we don't get someone coming along like, so you're saying that.
I'm saying that both are
From a
bad.
definitional standpoint, like, the two reasons it's not okay to have sex with kids is, one, because it's extremely harmful to them, and two, because their brain isn't developed enough. They don't have the understanding to be able to give informed consent to it.
Yes.
By saying, and this is kind of the whole point, by saying that you can transition a child because the child has told you that they're actually of the opposite gender, you are saying that that child can give informed consent. And you cannot argue that without also arguing that it is morally acceptable to have, like, that children are capable to consent to sex as well.
Yes.
Those two things go hand in hand. You cannot argue one and then say, but the other one's different.
Well, that's my entire point. Like, I might word it weird, but I'll explain it in a way that, like, it's worded better this way. Is cutting off somebody's hand unprompted bad? Like, a legitimate question. I know what the answer is, but I want you to answer.
I mean,
Is cutting
yeah.
off somebody's hand, like, unprompted bad? Yes. Okay, so is killing someone bad?
Yeah.
Is one of these less bad than the other, but still bad?
Yep.
Okay, that's my point. Like, two things can be awful and atrocious, and one still be functionally less bad as a form of, like, using metric utility to kind of be like, okay, this one is bad, but it can be recovered from. Is it still bad? Yes. Am I justifying it? No. Not in any way, shape, or form. But are they functionally both terrible things? Yes.
Yes,
So
like I said, I know what you mean.
Well, this is for
kind of,
everyone to understand what I mean.
You picked some very delicate topics here, and like I'm just
aware.
covering our bases.
Well, like, I mean, it did make me explain it in a more
it is
way.
Definitionally, like, at its very core, impossible to argue that children can consent to transitioning without also arguing that they can consent to anything else.
Yep.
It's like, if you think that children are capable of consenting to transition, you have no grounds to argue that children are incapable of consenting to sex with adults. That's just the position that you're taking. You're just going to, that's a square, that's a circle you're not going to be able to square.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like the core problem with, like, the trans ideology, is it's just circles they're incapable of squaring. It's the transitioning forever ruins a person's body. Like, that's just a thing. Like, you cannot argue your way out of it. It just happens. You just have to argue your way around it and, like, explain why you still think it's the right thing to do. Like, as the first step to take when someone comes to you and goes, I think I'm the opposite gender. And that then compounds with the detransitioners. You have to, at some point, like, the single most damaging thing that the trans movement has done to itself is just flat out kicking out detransitioners, just saying detransitioners should not be listened to. They're haters, their opinions don't matter, like, what happened to them doesn't matter.
Trans, so why does it matter?
Yeah, you shouldn't listen to them. They're just here to be haters, and, like, their experience doesn't matter. What they have to say doesn't matter. What happened to them doesn't matter. They don't mean anything. They don't speak for anyone. Just fuck them. Like, detransitioners, like, you have to explain detransitioners for this to work. If your stance is, if a child comes to you and says, I think I am the opposite gender of what I was, of what my biology is, and you think the first thing you should do is put them on puberty blockers and queue them up for a series of invasive surgeries, and then put them on hormone treatment for the rest of their life. Like, you have to square the circles of children's ability to give informed consent, and detransitioners, and also, like, just the detransition rate, and also how inherently harmful that entire process is. Like you need to get through all of those before you can like explain that that is a sensible position to hold. Otherwise, you're just here explaining it's like I want to mutilate children. Why? I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's a kind of one of those things. I'll finish reading what he said though, just to make a point of it, because like he does paint himself into a corner here. I'm just going to say this. You and I can both have opinions on this topic. Neither of us are medical experts, which is true, but I can guarantee I've done significantly more research into this than he has by like a
You don't need to be a medical
lengthy
expert
amount.
to be aware that like chemically castrating a child is bad.
Yeah. If the consensus of medical experts is trending towards allowing child transitions, maybe that's not something we should immediately dismiss. I'm not going to get into
Yes, we
that
should.
because I will actually get
The
fucking
shit ass
angry.
expert.
I will get actually fucking angry.
I've I understand that the council has come to a decision, but seeing as it is a stupid ass decision,
Stupid ass decision. I'm. It's like 9 out of
I've
10
heard what the
doctors
experts have
agree.
to
It's like,
say.
what did they do to the 10th one? Oh, they fucking put him down. That's how.
It's like the fucking climate change stuff. Like yeah, oh yeah, like
It's exactly
what
like
was
the
what's
climate
the
change
meta
shit.
study? Like 98% of their data is like either faulty or being used faultily, or just like completely baseless. But if you're in the scientific field and you argue against it, like no one will publish you.
Yeah, they will
You will just not
deplatform
get
you.
any
They will smear
funding.
you.
You will you will lose all of your connections.
All
You
of your
will not get
funding.
published. You just cannot be doing that.
Yeah.
It's
If you
yeah
disagree with the narrative consensus, they will bury you.
the experts are not immune to like
Bias.
the consensus being stupid and them being unable to go against it.
I really can't wait until I get to a point where I can just edit memes in, because I would literally wait till after you said the I understand that the freaking council has made a decision, but see,
The
that's just
council
a
has made a decision.
dumbass decision. I can't wait to actually get to a point where I'm like actually editing things in, or get us like a
Well,
proper
yeah,
fucking editor to do it, but that'd be fucking great. Um,
I will edit this video, and the only thing I will edit is I will like, I will just find this one timestamp and insert that one meme, and that's all I'm gonna do. I'll ship it as is.
but he says maybe, just maybe, making the weirdest straw man about giving sex changes to 2-year-olds and how it would be safer to just fuck them and then giving them an abortion is just a bit unnecessary and weird. And so, see, look, I know how I worded what I said. I didn't word it poorly. I was just speaking strictly from a utility standpoint, but I clarified to say that they are both bad. I implied that they were both bad at the beginning anyway, but my thing that I said and made very clear in my post was that they are both instances of something that would involve the necessity of consent. And ignoring that is basically to go, oh, well, you're just talking about how fucking kids is, less bad. And it's like, I said they were both bad. Like, the entirety of my post is why they're both bad. What are you talking about? Like, I understand some people might.
Like people have been throwing around the term hot take a lot. Like, yeah, you know what is like an actual like absolutely like
Nuclearly hot take.
nuclear hot take is sex with children is less bad than child transitioning.
I mean,
I agree with it, but still, oh wow.
it's
You could last an entire country with that.
yeah, I know, yeah, pretty much. But no, so that's a hard thing to do, is having like nuanced conversation, not using like words, because you don't really have a way to necessarily say what you want to and make clarity out of it. Because even if you had said it, even if I'd had said what you said the exact same way, they'd still argue against it. So I have to make the understanding to basically be like, yes, I understand from like a purely like logic, like purely logical standpoint, two things can be bad at one time and one can still be more bad, because I'm using it from a like outside looking in standpoint, but also a what is the degree of harm. Like with the hand analogy, if you cut off somebody's hand, they can still live. If you kill somebody, they're just gone.
Yep.
Like the degree of severity in both of those cases is bad. But even if we were to take it and minimize it a little bit and say, is cutting off somebody's hand unprompted bad? Yes. Is cutting off both of somebody's arms unprompted bad? One is still less bad than the other, but at the same time, you basically make living life for them nearly impossible without having to make severe adjustments to their life that are like catastrophically different and could cause like significant amounts of harm versus just their hand. Am I saying that cutting off the hand is good? No, obviously not. And anybody who is being good faith or even a neutral faith towards the argument would understand that I'm not saying that one of them is a good thing. But
Okay,
yeah,
you've kind of you're fighting a lost cause here, I think, because
they're all bad faith actors.
no, not even that. Like, just from like based on the way that leftist like theory is structured, they are just like baseline bad at this line of thinking of, I know both of these things are bad, I know one of them is worse than the other, and I know they're both still bad. Like their entire like the entire structure of their belief system is based on, oh, you're oppressed, well, I'm more oppressed, therefore you need to shut the fuck up, and I am the only one who matters. Like, that's the entire core of their philosophy. So, like, they're,
Yeah.
from the word go, they're already extremely bad at the principle of both of these things are bad, and they are, like, different degrees of bad, but they are both bad, and
Yeah,
we
that
can
makes
acknowledge that they're
sense.
both bad. Like,
Because they can't
it's a losing
acknowledge.
battle.
Yeah, so if things aren't equally as bad, then they're not bad at all, and it's like, okay, well, we could ignore everything that's not as
Yeah,
bad as
there
the
there is
worst
no
thing.
this is bad and this is worse, but they're both bad. There is this is worse, therefore the first thing isn't bad.
Yeah, or it's
Or
not
like the
worth paying
fact
attention
it's
to
it's not
kind of thing.
even
It's kind of wild
yeah.
that that's the thought
It's
process.
not even like the first thing isn't bad. It's this is worse, therefore the first thing doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's like it doesn't matter at all. We shouldn't care about it until worst thing is taken care
Yeah.
of, and then we can reassess and see if anything is above that other thing that we didn't like because it wasn't worse enough. It's like it's fucking
Yeah, so
dumb.
in the leftist framework, what you've basically told them is, well, transitioning children is really bad, therefore child rape doesn't matter. Which, talking about hot takes, oof, that's a rough one. That is not what anyone said at any point, but like that is what that translates into in this belief system, and that is rough. And it kind of it does explain why like he gets so hung up on it, because it's like what do you mean transition is really bad and that's why child rape doesn't matter?
Oh God. So I was just no, I was listening to you, but I was also reading. Apparently, somebody responded to Mitch, and I clicked it because it was a response to a response apparently. But somebody called. We're gonna just call them random because that's part of their name, but not the full name. They don't get the notoriety that Sir You Are Being Mocked gets because the legend needs his own fucking
we
his full
we
name.
just call him by we should just call him by an abbreviation, but it's deeply viscerally unpronounceable, so full
Yeah,
name it is. Full
Siamd,
government name.
Siamd or fucking. But the person is called Random says the specifics of OP's argument are misguided and ill-informed. Well, I have a bone to pick with that. They
Hmm.
are definitely not ill-informed or misguided, but regardless. But I think they touch
It's
on a
saying that
good.
like you're not fucking talking about yourself.
Yeah, it's like, oh, but I think they touch on a good point with the comparison because the core issue is the matter of consent. I will give them that at least. I will not give them the beginning
Yeah.
of that. I think if we lived in a world where children did not require parental consent to have medical procedures performed on them, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Let me just go over this. I think if we lived in a world where children did not require parental consent to have medical procedures performed on them, I wouldn't have a problem with it. That's a
I am.
dangerous prospect.
Yeah, I'm big on like parental rights, and this was the thing of like parents have the right to be told when their school is transitioning their child, like, and the counter argument was like, well, they're abusing the child by not letting them transition and that whole thing.
Yeah, I
Like
hated that
the
shit.
parental rights is knowing that, like, if you think that the parents are abusing the child, like the thing that you have to do is take the child away, not like secretly like give the child medical treatment unilaterally.
Yeah,
But that's
that
a
that
whole different kind of
that's
one.
child abuse if you're giving a child medicine without the parents' consent. Like the
Yeah,
whole
that's
like
that's
you're
like a whole other can of worms. But
yeah
like I'm big on parental rights, but like I just said, like there are limits to that. Like the point is the well-being of the child, and the whole consideration is that, broadly speaking, the best thing for, like, the people who will like who are best suited to be the advocates for their child are typically the parents. And there are edge cases where that isn't the case, and in those cases, something needs to be done about it. And one of those cases is if the parents decide that that they're going to do something to the child or for the child that is just objectively bad, like putting them through medical treatments that are unnecessary, or thinking like Munchausen by proxy,
yeah
which is
yeah
a very fascinating topic. But just as like we all know like what we're talking about
yep.
when I put it that way. Like if you're just like, oh, my child is so sick and they need to have like all of these procedures done when they actually don't. Like there's a mother who just like overdosed her child on salt so he would look sick so she could get attention on social media, that kind of stuff.
Oh,
Like
Christ, those are the worst.
yeah, like it's it's difficult because like, oh, you want to take a principled stance on it, but there isn't a principled stance. You need to look at the situation at hand and decide what needs to happen. And there's nuance to it. Like most of the time I would err on the side of parents, but parents aren't infallible, and there's parents that genuinely harm their children,
Oh yeah.
and both of those things can be true at the same time.
Yep. But I'll continue reading just so we're like keeping up with like where this goes, because you're right, and it is a frustrating like thing, and that honestly the whole Munchausen by proxy thing could be its own whole fucking video, like 2 to 3 hours worth of
Oh,
fucking
we,
content
we,
over
we don't have to.
just
Wendy
that.
done made a video on it.
Oh yeah.
It's a good. You should go watch it.
Okay, so the argument that a child should have less freedom because the adult they'll one day become might regret the choices that a child make doesn't sit right with me. This is a dumb fucking argument.
That
Like,
is the children shouldn't be able to get tattoos argument. What we're talking about is the children shouldn't have the power to chemically castrate themselves argument.
yeah, I mean, tattoos are reversible. Like, I don't think kids should be getting
Yeah,
tattoos,
it's
but
also
like
kind of.
from a fucking like from a utility, okay, I do not particularly prefer
Tattoos also very
utilitarianism.
notably are like medically harmless.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you're not going to have, unless you're like allergic to the ink or some like weird
yeah.
edge case like that, like you're not going to have end up with medical problems because you have a tattoo. If I am just like objectively wrong here, tattoo knowers, let me know about that. But as far as I'm aware, like tattoos are medically harmless.
Yeah, pretty
So
much.
very bad, like, and that's the argument you're making here. Like, oh, you're gonna regret having that. So, yeah, maybe, but like,
Well,
it's
no, no,
what's the
no.
harm?
Listen to the argument, though.
Yeah,
Listen to what they're saying. The argument that a child should have less freedom because the adult they'll one day become might regret the choices that them as a child made does not sit right with me. This argument is basically saying kids should have absolute freedom. If I'm
yes,
reading this in its like proper form, they are saying that if just because a child regrets a decision doesn't mean that we should stop them from making that decision. That is, I,
yeah.
I, okay. So they're arguing that consent is a real thing, but that kids should have the freedom of choice.
Yeah, that is genuinely the absolute, like, it kind of, it doesn't sound too bad, like I said, depending on what you plug in here as the thing that they're arguing for. Like, if you wanted to argue for children's ability to get tattoos, there you go, that's your argument, that's what you're arguing.
Yeah.
But what you're arguing is, again, a child's right to chemically castrate themselves.
Yes. Or medically castrate themselves. Like that.
Or surgically
Yeah. Well,
castrate
that's what I
themselves.
meant surgically. Um. However, it cannot be denied that children simply do not have full freedom of their own bodily agency. They require parental consent. And given that reality, I do not trust any adult who is giving that consent to not have ulterior motive. Okay, so that's a good adjustment to what they were saying. But still, that previous stuff sounds fucking weird. Um,
Weird roller coaster of an argument all around.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, just straight up, like,
yeah,
children, uh, their brain isn't developed enough. They don't have the world experience to know what they are or are not going to be able to live with later on in life.
yeah.
And
That's
there's points, like, there's things where you can say, like, oh yeah, just like, it'll be fine, just get over it. And that is the should kids be able to get tattoos argument, which is, no, that's
yeah,
dumb. Kids shouldn't be able to get tattoos. But if you're going to say kids shouldn't be able to get tattoos, that's fucking stupid. Like, you cannot then follow up from that with, but they should be able to transition. Like, that is, we're orders of magnitude
different. Yeah.
less.
It is impossible to prove there isn't coercion at play, no matter what the child says. So, in the world we currently live in, I can never support such procedures being done to children because the child can never truly consent to it. Just like how children can never truly consent to sexual activity with an adult. I 100% agree with that. In both cases, there is an imbalance of power, and the child has no real control over their own body compared to the adult who is involved. Okay, that's a fantastic argument, actually. Like, the rest of it before that was kind of weird. Even leading into this, that's still fucking weird. But we'll give it to that
I was
like
very
last bit.
confused, but we got there eventually.
Yeah, we got there eventually. The issue is rooted in the fact that minors do not have bodily autonomy. A 17-year-old could go into a doctor's office and ask for anatomy altering procedures to be done to them, and they would be refused because they require parental consent. But if that 17-year-old's parents came into the doctor's office with them and said, I want you to uh, anatomy, oh, okay, that looked weird for a second. I want you to do anatomy altering procedures with my child, or to my child, then frankly I do not trust that parent, and I never will. Okay, we're doing well. We're doing good. We're doing significantly better than
Yeah,
at the beginning.
we're basically making the argument that I made earlier, which is that, broadly speaking, the parents are, like, the most sensible default, like,
Better than the state.
arbiter of, like, or advocate for, like, a child's well-being, but there are parents that shouldn't have that power. Like,
Yeah.
that's basically that argument, is, like, generally speaking, you trust the parents to make those decisions, but specific choice parents uh do betray that trust and shouldn't have that power.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
So in the imperfect world we currently exist in, I'm gonna. I know it's a nitpick, but
We
the
will
world can't
always
be perfect.
exist
We
in
will always exist in an
I'm very
imperfect
sorry.
world. I think
Yeah,
the best.
that's semantics.
Yeah,
Like,
that's semantics, but it's still like it annoys me because it's like, oh, the potential exists. It's like, no, it fucking doesn't. Shut up. I think the best course of action is to restrict all non-life-threatening biology-altering medical procedures until the person those procedures are being performed on have the legal right to consent to them without requiring a sign-off form from a third-party individual who will not be participating in the procedure, saying the kid will commit suicide unless they get the procedure doesn't make it life-threatening. The kid needs therapy, not surgery, if that's the case. I 100% agree with that.
yeah, it's like And we're getting back to what I said earlier, which is that the problem with the trans movement is that there's too many cycles they can't square, and one of them is the absolute shitload of conditions that can cause gender dysphoria, which is like it's kind of the same as like gender dysphoria is sort of like in the same family of conditions as um like people who think that they should be blind, for instance. Like that one
Yeah.
woman who went to a therapist and he said, yes, you should pour bleach in your eyes. That'll solve all of your worldly problems. That's kind of where we're at with our treatment of trans people, is that fucker. That fucker who talked a mentally ill woman into blinding herself permanently. Like, there are so many things that can cause like gender identity issues, and it's anything from like going through puberty or peer pressure or
Yeah.
like parental neglect, all the way up to
Child abuse.
you could just be schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Like I don't I'd have to check what her name is, like the most famous detransitioner, if I remember
Chloe
correctly.
Cole.
What?
Chloe Cole.
Maybe I don't actually remember, but I remember it was like she actually experienced the gender dysphoria and got like fast tracked through the system, and all of the doctors were like, yeah, you're trans, you're just a man, like we're gonna do
Yeah, I
all
think
these,
that's
we're
Chloe
gonna
Cole.
fast track you through, we're gonna do all the procedures. And she like fully transitioned, went on HRT, had the surgeries, and then she got actually like properly diagnosed, and it was just like, you have schizophrenia. This could have been solved with medication.
Yeah.
Like you could have
Many
just
such
been
cases.
you could have just been put on like medication for your schizophrenia, and this could have all been avoided. You would have been perfectly fine. Like we wouldn't have had you wouldn't have had to have all of these invasive surgeries. You wouldn't have had to be on HRT. You wouldn't have had to like sterilize yourself. Like you wouldn't have gone through male puberty for absolutely no fucking reason. None of these, you wouldn't be a forever patient right now. I mean, I guess you'd be for medication for the rest of your life, but like, relatively speaking, like, significantly better outcome than what actually happened had someone just paused and asked, why are you having these feelings? And that's the core part that's missing, because I I wonder like to what degree like the people pushing this are aware of this, that
I don't think that
if
they
you
care.
were to just if you were to just ask from the word go, why are you having these feelings, what is causing this, the vast majority of these cases would just come down to therapy or like treatment for a secondary like underlying condition, and the gender dysphoria would just go away and they would never have to think about it ever again.
Yeah. I will say kind of like one of the things that I've made so many posts about this, like broadly speaking, when it comes to like the whole transition process, is that honest to goodness, like psychological help in regards to transitioners would be non-affirming psychology or non-affirming approach to psychology. And I've studied psychology for a number of years personally. I have a decent amount of like general information in regards to that. Granted, the field has changed so much because of like modern norms changing, but I think that most of that has to do with people's like health more than anything else. Like our diets have changed, exercise has changed, like freaking the cases of mental health disorders has like skyrocketed beyond like anything that we've ever seen in the past. So I think that that's been slowly changing like how psychology is being handled broadly. But having said that, I think it's important to note that non-affirming approach is absolutely necessary when it comes to people who think that they're transitioners because or transitioning. Let me rephrase or want to transition or that they're trans. Um, I think it's important to note that specifically when it comes to that, you need to find out a baseline. You need to find out, okay, Let's look for a root cause. Is there a root cause? You know, if we exhaust all of our resources and you don't have some other psychological disorder causing this, we don't find a
Go down the
history of
checklist.
abuse, we don't find a history of neglect, we don't find a history of bullying and peer pressure and other shit, and we just kind of like separate all of those things and figure out for sure that yes, you just have this, you don't have a chemical imbalance, your body is producing the proper amount of hormones that it's supposed to push or supposed to have at any given point in time within the averages set by like what science figures, then once we exhaust all of our resources, then we'll attempt to socially transition you, you know, slowly to see kind of how it goes. We'll have you do a journal. We'll have you actually like take and go, okay, here are how you're feeling about this day, you know, and then every time we meet and see each other, we're going to continue to go over how you feel, how everything has been going, and then if we continue to do this for a duration of time until after you're 18, and even then I think 18 is still too young personally, because I think, yes, at that point you have bodily autonomy, but realistically allowing people to potentially harm themselves, like I'm a libertarian at the end of the day, so I'm torn on it, but from a purely psychological, like psychology based perspective of this, not a libertarian standpoint. I think that a person should have at least 2 to 3 years or longer under a psychologist before they decide that it's something that they want to do, and they should go through a social transitioning process under that psychologist with consistent and current meetups and feedback with that psychologist before there is ever a sign off saying, yes, I personally believe that the only like solution to their dysphoria would be X, Y, and Z, unless that person thinks that they can like live a normal life without it, like that. And then knowing all of the potential like fucking issues that could arise from taking, you know, cross-sex hormones, or all of the surgeries, because surgery isn't perfect in any particular case, and any
This is
surgery you get can like end
yeah,
poorly.
this is a through line with this as well. Is with the detransition is people who were just like they were promised that if they just do the surgeries and they just go on like the hormones, everything would be fine, and they would be happy. Like consistently there's been a history of people who were rushed through the system who at no point were like informed of what was actually going to happen, like what these procedures were actually going to do. And even like not even just detransitioners, like if you look at like the like forums where people who have transitioned talk to each other, like there's so many threads of just like, oh, this thing is happening to me and I didn't think this would ever happen, like making an artificial vagina, that thing is awful. Like
Yeah, it's not real and it's not the
it
same.
yeah, apparently they smell terrible and they will forever smell terrible. That's just a thing, and like no one tells them that, like they're just gonna have to deal with that now.
Yeah, well, also not just that, like especially if they transition too early, because they can do an inverted penis and turn it into a like it's a neo vagina effectively, and or a pseudo neo vagina, whatever the person wants to call it, but it has to be like fully grown, like for that to even
Oh
be a
if you do it
thing.
too early, it will just not, like there just won't be enough material.
Yeah, so
Like
they'll
I
have to like
remember
use
there
colon
was
fucking like colon
I'll have
shit.
to I'll have to look it up. There was a case where a boy was had the procedure done, and because he was so young, there just wasn't enough material, so they had to take material from his colon, and he just ended up dying to complications of having parts of his colon removed, which completely pointless surgery to do on a child. And this kid like just died for that because someone decided, no, give this boy a vagina.
Yeah. But that's kind of like the whole thing with that. But I'll continue reading. Commit suicide unless they. Yep. Okay. So finally, the last bit that this person said is, if you think that sucks, the solution is to fight for legislation to allow children to have freedom to unrestricted from the influence of their parents. Fight for a world where children can walk unaccompanied into a tattoo parlor and ask for a tattoo, pay for it
Hey.
themselves, and have a tattoo applied to their body without parental adult being consulted at any point in the transaction. Fight for a world where minors are fully recognized legal human beings and not property of their parents in the world where that's possible. The kids can ask for as many hormonal pills and whatever the body parts cup. So I realize that this is sarcastic, but the way that they word it is still fucking weird. Like, because even if they're approaching it from like the devil's advocate point, it still sounds really fucking weird.
Like,
There is small criticism to that.
I mean, it is the logical endpoint though. Like you cannot argue these things without saying that children are able to give full informed consent to anything and everything.
Yeah. Although Mitch's response is funny because the next response by that same person, random, actually was phenomenal. It says, "This is an interesting take, but I can't agree with it. Children don't have the same rights as adults for a good reason," which, I mean, obviously I agree with that.
Yep, that's the point.
Yeah, there are consequences that children generally are not able to understand. I would never fight for the world you have outlined. I'd actually fight tooth and nail against it. Oh, congratulations, sir.
Welcome to the
Being
side of
sane,
sanity.
yeah, being sane for once. While the situation we have right now is imperfect, again, I don't like that fucking wording. It worked to a degree. The truth is that the best trans healthcare is only possible for minors. Reading that makes me want to fucking punch things. Just,
Children cannot be trans.
yeah. Anyways, well,
Your
okay.
child is not trans. You do
After
not have a vegan
puberty,
cat.
things instantly become more complicated. They really don't, because going through puberty actually solves most cases of gender dysphoria. Your body changes in pretty permanent ways very quickly, and you often see more surgical procedures necessary to alleviate gender dysphoria. That's false. That's god damn it. Makes me angry.
The
Now,
surgeries, the same surgeries, become less invasive after puberty.
yeah, pretty much, and the body is actually more formed, so there's also that. Now this would be a huge problem if there were zero standards to decide if the child were trans or not. Oh my god. He's really
Yeah,
gonna
they're
say that
unreal.
these people are going through like full proper procedures and they're fucking not. So many detransitioners have talked about how they didn't go through the whole fucking process at all in any way, shape, or form. Oh my god, I want to punch things. This makes me like viscerally angry reading this.
Yeah, it's funny how like you can say like, oh yeah, all of them didn't go through the full process, and all of them were still screwed up as hell. Like even the people that were just like, oh, I just went on HRT, they're screwed up for life. Like there was one case I remember where like there were two sisters, and the younger one was bipolar and then came out as trans, but was then got it in her head that her older sister is also secretly trans, so she started mixing like topical
That
testosterone
story, the fucking topical cream.
into her body wash, like the shower gel, and like that woman is going to have like she went through full on male puberty and she's going to have lifelong consequences from this
Yeah, like
because
excess
her
body hair,
little
deepening
sister
voices, and whatnot.
her little sister decided that she needs to put hormone like cream into her body wash.
Yeah,
Like
because she's like, my sister is actually trans, but she doesn't know she's trans. She doesn't realize she's trans. So I'm going to use the hormone stuff that I'm getting a hold of to transition her without her knowledge because I think she'd be happier that way. And then
yeah, like
proceeded to fucking put it in her like lotions and fucking like body
yeah,
wash and
if
shit.
anything, this is a further argument against allowing like people to transition without like massive barriers of interest, because even one aspect of the slew of things that people like do in order to transition is enough to ruin someone's body forever. Just one.
Yeah, it's it's frustrating. But anyways, it's like Now this would be a huge problem if there were zero standards. Okay. Remember, this is not just the child or the parent's choice, it's also the doctor's choice. There's more red tape in the way of these procedures than people realize. There's not.
We know for a
We
fact that there's
know
doctors
there's
that push
not.
for this
It's
stuff.
an
Like doctors
ideological
that,
thing.
yeah, we know that there's doctors who and organization whose stated goal is to get as many kids transitioned as possible.
Yeah.
Like, you remember that one doctor who was like, "Oh boy, get to cut off another kid's breasts today."
Oh, the tea eater lady, whatever the fuck her name was, where she was like, "Oh my God, it's been so long, and I can't wait because the last girl I did was only 14, and you know I just yeeted her titties," and I'm like, "This is fucking disgusting." Like, Jesus
Woman,
Christ.
that is. Never have I been more convinced that this is a fetish.
For a lot of people, it fucking is. But I'll finish Mitch's fucking thing because it's not much longer. Is the current system perfect? Doubtful. Oh, well, you have some sanity there. But I'd rather go towards perfecting the system than throwing the baby out with the bathwater over the tiny statistic of detransitioners. So,
It's not that tiny a
it's not
statistic.
that tiny, but also my understanding is that the likelihood that the detransitioner records are significantly higher than any medical facility is willing to put out because they're ideologically captured and on board with this. So if they put out actual statistics regarding this, they will make themselves and their profession look wrong for having pushed this for so long, which will put their trust into doubt. So they have both a financial and a um reputational reason to not publish all of those results. And it's also possible that a lot of people that they fully transitioned actually Epsteined themselves after the fact, due to the fact that they saw themselves as a monster beyond recovery after the fact once the hormone high wore off, and they were like, wow, this isn't me, what have I done? Went into a depressive episode, probably with underlying causes, because again, most of these causes aren't sussed out before these people are fucking transitioned, and transitioning just adds a fucking multiplier onto their their conditions that they already have. So I'd be willing to bet that a lot of people who would have been detransitioners have literally just fucking seppuku'd.
Oh yeah, like every except for one, there's one study that found the opposite that later had to be corrected because they literally just read all their data backwards. Every study done on this finds that suicide rates go up after transition. So Epstein themselves, is that what we're going with? I thought the whole meme was that Epstein very much did not Epstein himself.
I mean, that's fine. Either way, it gets the point across. Because let's be fair here, in a way, they did kind of Epstein themselves, due into the fact that their cause of death was underlying causes that were not properly assessed by medical professionals. So, medical
Yeah,
professionals could have been the result of that. I'm reaching a bit, but
and just the statement of I fully medically and chemically transitioned, medically, chemically, and socially transitioned, and then years later, someone was like, "Oh, you actually have schizophrenia." That's wild. Like,
yeah.
how do you go through all of those procedures and at no point did someone go like, "Yeah, maybe we should check for underlying issues."
Well, the
It's like
problem.
no one even had that thought.
Also, here's the thing too. This is kind of something that pisses me off is these people have a literal cult obsession with the medical profession, and they literally believe that because this is an issue that I've had with Brazen as well, where it's well, if the law says it and it is the way that the courts do it, then the court is infallible. The medical
The experts
professionals
are
are
never wrong.
infallible. The people who are the technocratic bureaucracy, who are ideologically captured by fucking Marxism, are absolutely perfect in every way and do not make mistakes, can't make mistakes, and everything is the way it's supposed to be. And I just sit there and I'm like, what? No.
You are retarded.
That's the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard in my life, and I've heard some dumb shit in my life. And it's like everything works when it's ideologically the way you want it, but whenever it's opposite the way you want it, then we shouldn't trust everybody. Then we shouldn't care about anything. Then we should doubt literally everyone and everything. And I'm like, no. I am an individual who, if you convince me with a proper argument that is logical, fair, and has basis in reality, I will be actually change my mind in some cases. The problem is that I have done way too much research into a lot of these things, and so the amount of research that a person would need to show me otherwise is drastic. Because I have watched a friend of mine go through something similar to this whole transition bullshit, and she managed to skip the entire process. She is far from a unique case. I've heard this from almost every single detransitioner I've ever seen information on. There are people in the thousands on TikTok who go through transition procedures and then go through detransition procedures. And it's like, oh, well, they're doing it for clout. And I'm like, that's a lot of fucking work to just do shit for clout. Like, maybe these people were literally doing the trend of, oh, I'm trans, guys, and then it didn't fucking work out because they realized they were depressed, they had anxiety, they had fucking, like, schizophrenia, or maybe some form of fucking psychopathy. Who knows? Bipolar
you know what
disorder.
can cause, like, gender identity issues? Puberty. Puberty can cause you to feel weird about your body.
Yeah. Well, literally, puberty causes gender dysphoria. That is a fact. In almost 98% of people that grow up, as soon as they start going through puberty, their body has to make an adjustment, and their brain has to go, oh shit, I'm growing hair in places I didn't have before. I'm growing extra parts in places that I didn't have before. Oh god, this one dangly bit's getting significantly larger than it was before. What the fuck? And your body is changing in a way that you have to adjust to while you're learning about the world around you. And whenever the world around you tells you to hate who you are, hate what you're born as, and maybe you're a blank slate that can be changed at the drop of a hat because medical professionals can supposedly just press a magic button and make you the opposite sex, it's like, it's an exhausting thing. But I'll finish what he said, and then try not to interrupt in the way of that. For the record, detransitioners have been estimated to be as low as 0.3% and as high as 3%. I don't believe that. So we're taking a maximum of 3% of trans people, estimated, yeah. With a maximum of 3% of trans people, which already are a tiny group, it doesn't matter, it still causes fucking harm. I'm not here to split hairs over suicidality, clearly you are. Life-threatening or not is something that should be taken seriously. Or it's something that should be taken seriously. Doctors would be recommending therapy if consensus was that therapy worked for trans people. They're not. That doesn't seem to be the case, obviously. Surely we can agree that high suicide rates are at least adjacent to life-threatening, and then that's the last part of what he said, but I'll read what the response to him was. I appreciate the honesty that you don't care about children having autonomy over their own bodies, and just want to use helpless minors as a canvas to impose your own political agenda upon against their will because you see individual rights as an obstacle in the path of your unquestioned authority over society at large. Most trans people wouldn't be so brazen to admit that. Which I find funny that he called Mitch trans. He's like, I'm not trans for the record. And no, I'm not using him as canvas for anything. I'm trying to create a world where these people have a chance to being happy. The fact that you came to such a conclusion just comes off as extremely bad faith. Do you think children should be allowed to do drugs, own guns, consent to sex with adults? Otherwise, children don't have true autonomy. Basically, nobody believes that children should have the rights of an adult. They're not developed enough. Mitch doesn't realize he's arguing against his own fucking argument. He really doesn't.
The thing, and we're back to like the trans argument doesn't work like on its face.
Yeah.
Because there's too many hurdles that they have to overcome that they just can't. The assumption here that he's making is not even like transitioning is good for like people with gender dysphoria. What he's basically arguing is that being trans is intrinsic,
Yeah.
And like, as soon as someone presents as I would rather be the opposite sex, they will be that way forever, and the desired outcome is for them to become the opposite sex. The thought that this person is having like a uh, a mental crisis that needs to be resolved, that this person is having an issue that needs to be resolved, that they're having problems, and that there's ways to solve those problems hasn't even entered his mind. He's just thinking of it in the framework of person wants to be opposite gender, therefore make them opposite gender. When the opposition argument is these people have issues, and for them to be happy and healthy, those issues need to be solved. And it's not clear that the sensible, like, good thing to do, like, that the best outcome for them is to just affirm whatever it is they're saying. And that's what they can't, like, argue against, because they're unwilling to even, like, enter into, like, this framework that is reality, which is that gender dysphoria is a mental condition. And actually, and this is where, like, you can tell that, like, it's not concretely about, like, helping anyone, like, in the real world. It's just this aesthetic, like, esoteric, like, mental image of, well, they're just like that and you just need to let them be what they want to be. Like, no, if you very concretely take a person and this person has a gender identity crisis, to make this person as happy and healthy as they can be, what do you do? And the answer is not you immediately chemically castrate them, shove them through a series of extremely invasive surgeries, and and then, like, make everyone pretend that they're now the opposite sex, and there's nothing weird about that. No, there are things that you can do to help them, and that is not it. What you're looking to do is to just like, radically affirm them, when what we're saying is what you should do is you should be trying to actually concretely help this one individual person with the very particular problems this one particular person is having, to get them the best outcome possible.
I think that the reality of what happened is that the like psychology departments for a long time, the psychiatric like departments of most colleges that are training psychologists have basically given up, and they're like, we're going, because like marriage counselors are supposed to be like actually like psychologists trained specifically in handling like marriages. And what you'll see from a lot of like marriage counselors is marriage counselors who are literally go in, they'll be scheduled in by the guy, the husband or the wife, and normally they'll go in and they will almost exclusively take the side of the wife on almost every like on almost everything. And you'll see that in like that field. My guess is that something similar has happened with like the psychiatric field when it comes to like transitioning and other stuff. They don't want to find the actual solution. They want to put a band-aid on a problem that they think is present, but also because they're like literally academia as an entirety, and I know I've made this argument before on Tumblr and just in general. Academia is functionally captured by Marxism, and trans like the whole like trans ideology is a Marxist fucking Trojan horse. It really is. And it's been a part of that for a while now. And everybody's like, "Well, how is transitioning Marxism?" It's like, well, let's look at it realistically. One, the whole transition movement is that people should have like kids should be able to consent. That is one of the biggest prospects of what transitioning minors ends up becoming. Two, it seems to alienate you from your family, because most families are going to be like, "What are you doing? You're perfect the way you are. You know, why are you doing this?" and whatever. And then makes kids like literally do everything they can to get away from their parents. And that then it's like, oh well, found families is the route to go after that. It's literally a step by step like system of fucking Marxism. And the more you break it down and look at it, like Epstein was a communist. The files basically prove that he was pro-transitioning kids, and a lot of the pro-transitioning kids elites, be it like the doctors, the everyone else that is pro that, you'll find that a lot of them, especially the ones like John Money, who were like pioneered the term gender fluid, were pedophiles. They were predators. They were literally monsters who wanted to separate kids away from their families and create a class of individuals that were a minor class of kids that have like their own autonomy to do whatever they want to. They literally wanted a world in which kids can decide what to do on their own because they're trying to separate kids from their families, which is one of the core tenets of Marxism, is to make kids and teenagers bastions of this, or not bastions, fucking,
Wards of the state.
oh yeah, wards of the state. Like, that is the fucking goal here. And it's like these psychiatrists don't want to do their fucking jobs and see if there's any underlying issues. They're not doing proper procedures. They're offering maximum dosages of cross-sex hormones to people on their first fucking visit, which is like not even just medically incorrect, it's ethically wrong. Because the drastic shock to your system is like absurd. That's why normally you don't get maximum dosages of medications immediately, especially if they're going to have drastic effects on the body. But just psychiatry has gone the way of like the fucking dodo. It's nearly useless at this point in time in the capacity that it currently exists in, and 90 plus percent, it's like 90 to 95% of all psychiatrists in modern day are literally just fucking like Marxists themselves. They don't care about it. Trans issues are a part of the Marxist agenda in current day, and they will just say, yep, you're trans, just tell me all of the things you're thinking about, I'll just say, yes, you're trans, I'll affirm you, and then I'll send you on your merry way to the doctor with a note. Just pay me, your fee for this visit, and I will give you a note and send you right over to the fucking doctor to get maximum fucking hormones. And the fact that Mitch ignores that shit like this happens is like, oh, well, it doesn't happen often. It's like, it happens plenty. The amount of stories out there that happens proves that it's not a small problem. And then there's like a woman who, I think she was on an episode of like Timple's Timcast, and she was a lesbian. And, or was she on Temple, or was she? I don't know. She was on a podcast. We'll just say that because it might not have been Temple's podcast. It might have been somebody else's. But she was on there, and she's like, by the way, I specifically, was a lesbian. I was having problems. I started thinking I was a guy. I was about to start going through the process to transition into a man. She was like in her 20s or late 20s, early 30s or something like that. And then, one of her friends talked to her, and she's like, hey, have you gotten your hormones checked? And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, your hormones, have you gotten them checked? Like, you're having these problems, medical problems, psychological problems. Are your hormones being produced at like a normal rate for your age? And she's like, I don't know. And she's like, well, shouldn't you probably get that checked out before you make any drastic choices? And she was like, you know what, sure, let's do that. And she did. It turns out that her hormones were at significantly lower levels than they were supposed to be at, and as soon as they put her on supplemental like hormones, everything kind of fixed itself.
Weird how that works sometimes.
Yeah, it's weird how, if you look for a root cause rather than just making an assumption, that sometimes shit just kind of works. And people wonder why there are so many male to female fucking like transitioners nowadays. Probably because testosterone rates are at historic lows across the board. Couldn't be that these people are actually just low on testosterone. No, totally the fact that they're just women in men's bodies. The whole conversation's fucking exhausting, honestly, and it's super frustrating. But anyways,
yeah,
that was
it's
the.
Like,
go ahead. Sorry.
It's just like going back to like the you're isolating children thing. probably the most insidious thing I think that the trans movement has done is this insistence that anyone who isn't fully affirming what you're doing hates you and wants you dead, and you should just like stop talking to them forever and never see them again.
Yeah.
Like, just like, do you know how extremely dangerous it is to tell, like, especially like a very young, any person, but a young person especially, like, if someone disagrees with you, just cut them out of your life. You are never going to keep any friends. All of your relationships from that point on are deeply conditional, like on very flimsy grounds. Like, you are isolating that person not just from their family, you're isolating that person from everyone and anyone who ever has the capacity to disagree with them. And that is extremely bad for people. That is so dangerous.
I mean, well, we know it's dangerous. It's wild that like it keeps fucking happening, and it's just like, oh yeah, just let kids do whatever the fuck they want to. If they say that they're trans at 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. I mean, I've seen stories of like parents who have literally started socially transitioning their kids at 2, and they've been in interviews where they've talked about it. Kids who were like 4 or 5 and 6 years old. Hell,
How do you
freaking
socially
Desmond the
transition a
Amazing
2-year-old?
was conditioned to be a drag queen, which is explicitly sexual in almost every form of its existence. And everybody's like,
It's
no,
like, it's
drag
not
queens aren't
sexual.
sexual.
He's dancing on a table in underwear and people are shoving money in his clothes.
Mostly
Like, well,
men. Adult
mostly
men.
gay men, yes.
Like, and no one sees an issue with that. Like, that, oh, god dang. I'm not gonna go on a tirade. I'm not gonna go on a tirade.
Here's where I'm going to piss off the other end of the aisle. I don't particularly have an issue with like socially, like letting children socially transition. Like, I think if your kid comes to you and goes, like, if your daughter comes to you and goes, I'm actually a boy, and you just go, all right, and you let her get her haircut, let her buy some new clothes, and then you, I don't know, call her Dylan for a while. Like, I think she'll probably grow out of it. Like most of those kids grow out of it. Like, just fucking let them like play around with it. It's kind of like, I think to an extent it's like this generation's version of having like an emo phase. But also there's especially, and that's specifically if you're talking about like teenagers. I think with teenagers you can do that.
Well,
But like
teenagers,
if you have like
yes.
if you have like young children and toddlers, and I don't remember who said this, but some someone said, like, some like right-wing influencer said this, like his daughter came up to him and she was like very young, like 4, 5, 6 year old, and she's like, daddy, I want to be a boy. And the way that like that didn't turn into anything worse than it needed to was that he just turned around and went, why do you want that? And true to a like young child, her answer was, well, the boys get to wear shorts when they're playing football. And I want to wear shorts when we're playing football, so I want to be a boy because then I get to wear shorts. And he just went, honey, we can get you shorts. Girls can wear shorts. And she was like, oh, okay. And that was the end of that conversation.
I mean,
and that's where
that's
like the kids are at, like young kids.
so.
How that works out usually.
I will counter the whole like teenager bit do with the whole like social transitioning thing, because I think that it should be done under um the guise of a like actual psychiatrist. If a person thinks that they're trans and it goes on for an insistent amount of time, it should be through a
Yeah.
therapist. But there's a reason why. Our social norms are very drastically different in modern day, to a point where love bombing is effectively conditioning. If you allow for the behavior, and I'm not saying like allow in the, oh, I'm gonna like physically stop you. Like, if you functionally, like socially allow for the behavior, it will continue to manifest over a lengthy period of time. And if that behavior consists over a period of time when they turn 18, and they do go through the whole crack, they fall through the cracks like so many before have. You could end up with a or mutilated son or daughter who thinks that they're a monster, and then you have to take care of them effectively for the rest of their life until they learn to grow and strive on their own after the fact, depending on what all they did, if they took hormones, if they got like their breast cut off or otherwise. And the reason is because love bombing is a thing. Love bombing and conditioning are a thing, and the fervency in which these communities exist, they will find you, they will adopt you, they will tell you that your parents actually hate you, even if your parents are like literally letting you socially transition. They will separate you from your parents intentionally, and it'll be like that case out of fucking Florida where that teenager thought she was fucking trans, her teachers convinced her she was trans. They literally like trafficked her out of the fucking state. She got raped and assaulted on a number of different occasions through several different states until she ended up in California, and now the fucking California authorities won't tell her where she is because they're a trans sanctuary state, and they don't have to tell the parents where she is. So she could be dead, she could be transitioning through state funds, which is bullshit, or something else. I think that it is not okay to condition your child, even if it's like a teenager, to be okay with it. Because even if they might grow out of it, if you allow the conditioning to start, it won't stop.
And yeah, like there's a reason that families with trans kids, like it's almost always more than one. Like I remember there was one family that was on like a TV show about like their trans kids, plural. Like the older daughter transitioned to a boy, and then because she was getting all of the attention from the parents and all of this praise and oh you're so brave and so cool and so special for doing this, the younger child, like way younger, like trying to remember, definitely younger than 10 when they filmed this, was like, oh, she's getting all of this attention, so I am actually a girl, because if I say I'm actually a girl, my parents are also gonna give me all of that attention.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get all of that praise. And that's how that happens. But like with teenagers, the kind of the thing I'm thinking is, I think for a lot of teenagers, the reason why I kind of compared it to having like an emo phase is it's that same like teenager impulse of doing something like not necessarily trendy, but like harmless, like aesthetically radical in a bid for attention. Like being an emo kid is pure attention seeking. Like self-harm in like a lot of cases is attention seeking.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that behavior is attention seeking. Like punk is attention seeking. Out of kids, definitely. Like you're, and I think generally speaking, like all of that group of like aesthetics and behaviors, like I think it's fine to let your kids indulge to a degree, but you need to understand that what they're doing is attention seeking, and it's not in the sense of like, oh, they're attention seeking, just fucking let them sort it out, like they're just looking for attention. Like kids seek attention for a reason.
They do, yeah.
And you need to be, as a parent, aware that like if your kid is engaging in attention-seeking behavior, there's a reason that your kid is doing that, and you need to be conscious of that and figure out why that's happening.
Well, honestly, it like what I would kind of like go with is if at any point in time I have a child and that child comes to me and says, "Hey, Dad, I think that I'm trans," I'm going to start asking questions. I'm going to start asking questions.
The first question is always why.
Yeah, the first question is why. But then I'm going to probe a bit. I'm going to be like, hey, we're going to ask you we're going to sit down, we're going to have a conversation, and realistically, I'm not going to let you leave until you explain to me, how you came to this conclusion and what's going on.
I'll
Are
be
your
honest,
friends?
if my teenager comes to me and goes, Mom, I'm trans, like that is in the same ballpark as my kid coming to me and saying, I would like to become vegan. It's like honestly that's like from like the level of reasoning I'm expecting out of this and like what I think like this is going to turn into, like that is about the level I'm looking at.
But well, I mean, like again, like you said, kids and teenagers especially like are always out looking for attention for some reason or another. Maybe because exception to their accept with for the acceptance of their peers. Wow, English is hard. Oh my god. Um, but basically, I would literally question them. I would ask them questions. I wouldn't be confrontational about it, but I would start kind of going over stuff, and then I'd be like, okay, look. If it's a clothing thing, you do realize gender non-conforming is a thing, right? I'm a
You can't just be a
libertarian at the
tomboy.
end
This
of
is
the
a thing
day.
you're allowed to.
You could be a tomboy, you could be a tomgirl. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, if you want to put on different clothes, by all means. And hell, it's the case where a lot of people who detransition find out they weren't fucking trans. They were just gay or lesbian. And if my kid comes to me and be like, Mom, Dad, I think I'm gay, I'm gonna be like, okay,
Uh,
okay.
rip the family line, but you do.
It's like, okay, sure, all
Well,
right.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
well,
well.
are you angry? It's like, why? What purpose to be angry about
Sweetheart, you
something like
haven't
that?
done anything.
Yeah, it's
Have
just
you
fucking
stuck
stupid.
dig behind a shed at school or something? Like, no. My God,
It's
you're.
like, are you dragging boys behind the like shed at school to just do that? Then no, I don't give a fuck. Just don't do
Are you
illegal shit.
engaging in the culture or are you having the attraction?
Yeah, it's like, are you acting gay in everything you do? Is it your entire personality? Then I don't give a fuck.
Like, are you like presumably this is my child who I raised, who I ostensibly like. Like what the fuck? Oh no, a person that I love with all of my heart likes the fucking tits a bit too much. Like,
Like, oh no,
woe
my
is
my
me.
proclivities have rubbed off on my child.
I was almost gonna make the joke of like, oh no, my fields are too fertile and my lobster is too buttery, but that's like, that's maybe that's a bit far.
Oh, that's funny. But no, it's just if again, if it was my kid, I'd be like, I'd start asking questions. I'm not gonna just fall victim to this whole shit where it's just like, oh well, I would let my kid fall through the cracks because the first thing that I would probe for after asking why is literally be like, okay, how many of your friends at school are trans? Okay, how many of your friends at school tell you about all these things? Have they said these specific things or whatever? And then I would be always be involved in your kids' like social life to some extent. Letting them run free when they're in their own social circles is a terrible thing. Knowing their friends as parents and knowing who their friends are is a good thing, a healthy thing as a parent. Because guess
Ye-
what? When you don't involve yourself in your kids' social life, you allow them the potentiality of getting groomed or worse. So, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I also think it's fine to be a little bit indulgent with what your kids are doing. Like when they're like specifically if your kid's attention seeking, it's fine to just go to actually like you should give them the attention is what I mean.
it's
Like you
fine.
should
I'll
give
just
the
take them
kid.
to anime conventions. They can dress up however the fuck they want to then.
Let your son become a cat boy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, hey, kid, hey, son, you think you're a girl? All right, we're gonna make you a fox boy instead. How about that? And it's be like, wait, what? Be like,
You
yeah,
are.
we're gonna make you tails and fucking ears and shit. Give you an overcoat, just like this lovely foxy blue boy here. And we're gonna strut you around a fucking anime
Do
convention,
not
and
let your
everybody's
kids
gonna
watch
be.
anime. Let okay.
No, we're gonna let my kid watch
Let them
kids
watch
anime.
Dragon Ball.
Yeah, kids anime
kids
is fine,
kids anime.
not regular
Did you
anime.
know One Piece ran in the German speaking area as a kids anime?
Oh dear Christ, that's
They just
probably not great.
they literally just took One Piece one to one, like translated it, and then they just cut out every mention of death. Like, it just hard cuts.
That's
And
ridiculous.
it
It's
was,
like, oh no,
it's
nobody actually dies. They just disappear for a
they
while,
just disappear.
guys.
Like, if they ever say like I killed that guy, just hard cut. It's not in the anime anymore.
I was like, what happened? I blank. But yeah, I'm gonna be like, how about we turn you into a fox boy? We're gonna parade you around a convention, and we'll see exactly how long you need attention for, because realistically, that would be the fix. At least in the United States, because the conventions here are fucking huge, and I can guarantee the amount of attention he'd get from a fox boy, he may actually think he's a fox boy in real life, and be like, you know what, this is still fine.
I mean, as a joke, yeah. Like, actually, like, speaking, like, in real world terms, like, like the kid isn't just like looking for attention. It's looking for specific attention. It's looking for parental attention and peer attention. Like, that's what we're going for. So like,
Yeah. But I mean, I do plan to take my kid to
do
anime
not
conventions. That's a real thing, though.
this disclaimer, do not like have your kid cosplay a foxboy and take him to an anime convention. That's how you get your kid groomed by weirdos.
No. See, you have to take them and bring them, and be with them the whole time, like a responsible parent. Because if you don't do responsible parent things, your kid won't be a responsible person growing up. You have to teach them
Responsible
the right
parent,
way.
like an anime convention.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. If you take your teenager to an anime convention and dress them up like a fucking fox boy, they're gonna get so much fucking attention. But the thing is, you have to be there the whole time. Don't just
Yeah.
send them on their merry fucking way to do whatever the fuck they want to. You still need to be a responsible adult and be a responsible parent and know what the fuck your kids are doing, because that's just good parenting. I'm not gonna just be like, all right, little Timmy, I'm gonna drop you off at this convention. Just go do whatever the fuck you want to.
Me showing up to the convention in full cosplay with my toddler in a fox onesie.
I mean, I find no issue with that. Family conventions like that are actually really fun, and normally your kid forms a community, or ends up in communities that you actually have some level of knowledge and supervision over at that point. Like, I grew up fine for the most part, but I grew up like early on whenever like anime was still kind of a super niche fucking thing. And my mother was quite strict with me in a lot of regards, but not other regards in some cases. But if she'd have known more about anime and been more involved, there are certain series I probably would have never watched whenever I was a teenager, which is probably would have been for the best. But all things considered, I think
Yeah, a
that's
lot of
pretty
fanboys. Like there's a lot of like very not so good undertones in anime.
Yeah, that's well, I mean, that's true, and I think that some anime that aren't explicitly kids anime actually approach a lot of topics really, really well for what they are, and they approach them in a way that isn't the bastardized version of how Hollywood likes to approach certain things.
Oh yeah, anime is very good at addressing like
Because
certain things, but it has its pet
even
topics that it's like really, really egregiously bad with.
oh yeah,
Like
that's
the
true.
amount of anime that will just have like the thirstiest shots of like the youngest characters for no reason.
Yeah, that's
Like
not great. Yeah, I know.
like we're watching an anime right now where like there's one character who is like portrayed as like a little girl, and she's introduced naked, and it's such an awkward like shot.
What the hell are you
It's like
watching?
Legend of the Shield Hero,
Oh,
which is a
you're
really
talking
well
about, oh
anime.
god, no,
I'm talking
Shield
about
Hero is
Philo.
so
Philo
dark
gets
though.
introduced.
You
Philo
obviously
gets
wouldn't let
introduced
a kid
naked.
watch that.
Absolutely no, but like also just generally like why did you intro the 12-year-old girl naked? Why did we have to do that? Who decided that this shot was necessary? And it's very, very hard to find anime that doesn't have like just
Wait,
straight up
Raftalia was
just
introduced naked? What?
no. Philo, the other one,
Philo, what
the
was
bad
she?
girl. Yeah, she's introed naked. Well, her human form is.
Oh, well, I mean, when she transforms, she has no clothes originally, so
Yeah, but like the shot was still
unnecessary.
extremely
Yeah, no, I
unnecessary.
understand. Well, to be fair, anime's kind of always been like that in its own weird way because, like, even early Dragon Ball, before Dragon Ball Z happened, like, there's shots where Goku is naked and it's not played for any kind of, like, weird fetishy shit at all. It's just oh, yeah, this is how kids fucking act. They're fucking lunatics. You know, they take off their clothes and
Yeah,
they just
yeah.
do whatever the fuck they want to. And it's like
I
it's
mean, yeah,
written from
that's one
more a
thing. But
real
like,
world perspective,
this
but
was
there
like
is some perverse like stuff
it
that
was like
does happen from
yeah,
time to time.
yeah. That's one end. Like that's like what Dragon Ball does, and Dragon Ball is very tongue in cheek with it.
Yeah.
But also, like you have to kind of keep in mind that the creator of Dragon Ball is a perv, and he's not
Well,
shy about admitting it. But he's
sure.
also a perv for like adult women.
Well, I mean,
So
that's
that's
fair. He is a
that's
oh
right,
yeah,
okay.
it's literally fucking Roshi.
Mm, but like a lot of anime like has some really egregiously thirsty shots about some
Yeah.
egregiously young characters,
Well,
and
even like just in
that's like
general.
the really messed up stuff that I really have a gripe with in anime. The other thing that anime does that I have a gripe with is anime has a tendency to play like men being like just openly abused as a joke all the time.
Yeah, that I mean, to be fair, American TV does that too, and I'm pretty sure British TV may do it. Like honestly, because like it's the whole husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend trope thing, where it's like if a guy gets hit or abused or whatever, it's perfectly funny and fine. When a girl like literally
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
clotheslines a
there's a
guy,
lot of
it's a
people
joke.
like that.
But it's like if a girl has anything happen to her, it's like,
Yeah, you have the same thing. Like Game of Thrones did it. Game of Thrones fans did it. Like everyone was like,
yeah.
"Oh no, what happened to Sansa was a step too far." It's like, "Oh, do you want to rewind a few episodes to what happened to what's his name, Theon? I think it's been
I
forever.
don't remember the names of most of those
The
characters because I didn't
the
watch most
guy
of
who
the
got
series.
castrated.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, that's the thing too. Like
Some
that
way
goes
worse
into a
things that
different
happened to
fucking
that guy.
topic. So we'll pause for we'll pause on that for now. But
Okay.
no, I definitely get it. But no, it's kind of one of those just kind of like looping back a little bit. It's being a responsible parent is being a responsible parent, and there's obviously going to be like certain cases where it's going to be nuanced and niche and whatnot, and you have to like pay attention to things that you wouldn't normally expect. You know, obviously don't be a helicopter parent, but be involved in your kid's life, because if you're not involved in your kid's life, other people who care less about your kid than you do will be, and that's a dangerous precedent that you don't want to set because, well, it's just true. If your mother isn't texting you, you know, every few hours trying to figure out where the fuck you're at when you're supposed to be at a certain place, that's probably not good, honestly, unless you're like with like another parent who she's personally met, you know, that's not great. But it kind of just loops back to the whole, like every debate that we have is like, you know, your parents need to be in your life and they need to be involved in a healthy way. Are parents going to be overbearing sometimes? Yes, but that doesn't make them bad parents.
Yeah, you should like the core philosophy of parenting, I think, really is you need to give your kids enough room to make their own mistake, but that doesn't mean you just abandon them to the world.
Yeah, that's you always have to be careful with stuff like that, like legitimately. But anyways, I'm pretty sure I have an idea for what I'm gonna name the channel. And I'm gonna run it by you
Cool.
because I think it's a play on all of our names, which is gonna be funny for now, which is going to be the Foxy Freedom Snapping Turtle.
I want the channel banner to just be like a fox boy with just like an actual like real world sized snapping turtle hanging from his arm, just screaming.
No, he's got to be riding it, and then I've got to be waving like a Gadsden flag or something like
No, no,
that.
no. I need the snapping turtle to be accurately sized though.
Well, it's gonna be like an adequate-sized snapping turtle because it's gonna be big enough that I can ride on it. Because a lot of snapping turtles are big enough to ride on, even if I have to shrink
That's
myself into
terrifying.
chibi form. we can make this work somehow. But yeah, that's
Yeah. No. Here's what we take L, and L's holding the turtle, and then there's a tiny U riding on the turtle.
no Lord. The real question, well, the only thing I'm worried about on that is given their namesake and the fact that we used L as shorthand for their name, and for the time being, I think it would make more sense to use them as a Gadsden flag unless we're going to like instead of don't step on Sneck, it's don't step on L. Because I don't want to use like an IP that already exists due to like worrying about copyright. Because
Yeah.
originally I was gonna go with like the Foxy Detective snapping turtle, but I was like, well, if I use detective, then we're obviously making a callback to something specific. So if we're using her namesake, maybe we could go with freedom, and that might be a more adequate thing. And then we could just use like a Gadsden flag
Adequate.
instead. So the Foxy Freedom Snapping Turtle sounds like a good channel name for this. Is probably what I'll go with. But we can discuss it after. But I appreciate everyone stopping by. Anyone who made it this far, which obviously we put on for a while. I mean, this is about podcast length of an actual podcast rather than just like some like short fucking show. If anybody did stick around to the end, I appreciate it. This has been your Torador's extended warranty. Um,
Sorry, you're kind of cutting out on my end.
No, no, no. I cut myself off.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were waiting for me to say something.
Yes, you're next.
God damn it. Well, now I've made it awkward.
No, oh no, it's awkward now.
Bye. Fuck off.
Run! Run! Ah!
Be gone.
This is
That's it. That's the end of the
this is this
podcast.
is this is a turtle luck, everybody. Later.